BBC Radio Manchester.
Oh my goodness me! It's a sensational volley! Manchester City with an unbelievable start! Marcus Rashford! Goal number 30! It's in! Bolton have nicked it! Wanderers have turned it round! Asgard! Oh, what a finish! And from behind, Wigan Athletic are in front. This is Collar from the angle. It's Collar to double Stockport's lead. Chance for 3-2, and they have nicked it. The Salford bench go wild.
Total Sport.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Yes, we're back as Pep Guardiola rests his back. Manchester City on the road today without their manager as the Blues go to Sheffield United.
If you stop now, you're just one of the best, and if you keep going, maybe people will remember us as probably the best, and that's where we have to aim. So the ambition and the levels of focus to be there again this season are very high.
That's Bernardo Silva as he commits his future to the champions. Commentary on the way from 2 o'clock with former Blues goalkeeper Nicky Weaver as part of your commentary team today. Can City make it 3 wins from 3 at the start of the new Premier League season?
Total Sport.
BBC Radio Manchester.
To Bramall Lane it is then, Manchester City at Sheffield United, and with the team news, here's Mike Minay.
2 changes for the Manchester City side from the win over Newcastle 8 days ago. Manuel Akanji's unwell, so he misses out altogether. Phil Foden drops to the bench. In come Bernardo and Ake as a result. So Ederson in goal, Walker, Diaz, Vardiol and Ake as the back 4. Bernardo, Rodri and Kovacic in midfield. Alvarez and Grealish will flank either side of Erling Haaland.
Thank you very much, Mike. And of course, Nicky Weaver, former Manchester City goalkeeper, is with us today on Total Sport. Good afternoon, Nicky.
Good afternoon.
Lovely to have you with us. First question then, Foden benched. So who has Kevin De Bruyne's role then?
Well, it looks like it's possibly going to be Bernardo Silva. I was surprised that Foden wasn't playing. I thought, obviously, with De Bruyne getting injured, he played well last week against Newcastle. So yeah, you know, I love Foden to bits, and as well as he's done it, it doesn't seem to, I don't know, really, Pep never seems to put him in every single game, does he? He plays him sporadically in different positions, but for me, you know, it'd be the first on the team sheet for me.
We've got a tweet here that I want to put to you, Nicky. It's from Transfer Buzz, which says Foden should be starting almost every game. De Bruyne is injured.
Yeah, pretty much what I've just said. I would expect Foden to be starting. And listen, there's plenty of game. Well, there's only one game before the international break, but I'm sure he will get plenty of game time. But I'm surprised as anybody today that he's not starting, and you know, I dare say he's very disappointed as well.
Yeah, he probably is, and I think Nicky's right. It was kind of, although we've seen him play there before, it was a new role for him last week against Newcastle, in the middle, the De Bruyne role there. I mean, as a goalkeeper, Nicky, you've got to see the whole pitch and understand everything at every time. In the middle, he's totally different, because when he's out wide, the touchline protects him on one side.
Yeah, so you've got things coming in, but you will see more of the ball, and players like Phil Foden, you want to get them on the ball. You know, he set the goal up last week, he made some crucial passes, and you want to get him in them De Bruyne positions, because he has got the killer pass in him. So, you know, but we might see him at half time today, we might see him after 60 minutes, so I'm sure we will. And yeah, I'm surprised as anybody, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be very disappointed not to be playing today.
When the De Bruyne news came through, the first 2 names when everyone's saying within the City squad who replaces Kevin De Bruyne were Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. So with Phil on the bench, it is Bernardo Silva today.
Yeah, it looks like it. And listen, there's no bigger fan than Bernardo than, well, pretty much every Man City fan. They all love him. Great news that he's going to be staying for a little bit longer now. He's a little bit of a, I wouldn't say unsung hero, but he doesn't sort of get the applauded as some of the other players. But he's, you know, when you watch him live, he's incredible. He's been here for a number of years now, been part of a really, you know, winning mentality and a winning team. And yeah, looking forward to watching him today. He's a terrific player.
And Nicky, one selection that probably won't surprise you is Alvarez getting another start today.
Yeah, I mean, he had a decent season last year. Me and Mike were talking about it before, but he sort of went under the radar. He's obviously in the shadows of Haaland. Obviously, he plays a little bit deeper to come and get on the ball a bit more. Scored a terrific goal last week, which proved to be the winning goal. So yeah, I think he's in for a big season. He's a great age, obviously a World Cup winner. City didn't pay a lot of money for him in today's market. So yeah, I really looking forward to how he does this afternoon and also throughout the season as well.
He's going to have to step it up a little bit away from home, Julian Alvarez. He's got a phenomenal home record, 13 goals in 13 starts at the Etihad, but when you flip that away from home, it's just 2 goals in 13 starts. Is there anything in that? Do we read too deep into stats like that, or
probably have a look again at Christmas? But he, obviously when they're at home, they dominate possession wherever they play, more so at home. So he probably gets on the ball more, probably gets into those areas that he likes to get into, the little pockets. But he can score all sorts of goals, to be fair. He can poach goals, a good finisher. Obviously scored a cracking goal last week. So yeah, he'll be one that it's a really big season for him now, because he had a great first season, but now he needs to kick on and have an even better second season.
The difficult second album, that's what it is for Julian Alvarez this time round.
The second book, the second hit, it's always the same, isn't it? But a really interesting stat that as well, Mike. In terms of City's bench, Jeremy Doku, Nicky, is on the bench. What do we know about him?
Not a lot. I believe he's very, very pacey, obviously in wide areas, very direct, can beat a man, gets his crosses in, gets his cutbacks in. So yeah, he's obviously a really good age. They've paid a lot of money for him, but I'm sure City will have been watching him for many months and even years. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he gets a few minutes today, because I think it's one that he looks a really exciting player, one that could get the fans out of the seats.
When you see the video show reels, him flying past players, darting past them on the wing, it's interesting because Riyad Mahrez wasn't that player. He was the slower, skillful, crafty winger. City fans ever since Leroy Sané's left have cried out for that pace down the wing, but it's not clearly been an issue because they've won so many trophies without that. But now they are going to get that pacey winger. He's going to be different to Mahrez on the right, so it'll actually be interesting to see perhaps a little bit how that links with Haaland in the middle, for example.
Yeah, well, the bit like you said, the show reels that you see, he looks really quick, really direct. Pace, it frightens defenders, so they'll be very aware of him. They might have to double up at him at times, and he should be a good supply line for Haaland, because he doesn't score enough goals as it is, does he? So yeah, he'll be licking his chops. But yeah, he's one that fans want to see, wingers, old-fashioned wingers sort of running at players and beating players. Like I said, Mahrez, he was a terrific player for the club. He had a spell in the middle of last season where he scored a lot of goals and was really effective, but again, you never really felt he was on the top of Pep's list, if you like. So I think that the club did good business by him leaving and bringing Doku in. Yeah, so he's one that we're all excited to see what he's got to offer.
Yeah, certainly going to bring something else. Well, one person that hasn't travelled to Sheffield is, of course, boss Pep Guardiola. He's recovering from emergency surgery on his back, and he won't be in the technical area until after September's international break. Assistant coach Juanma Leo is in charge for today. Nicky, how much of an impact does it have not having Pep on the sidelines?
It'll obviously impact them to a point, but they'll be well drilled. They'll know exactly what they're doing. Pep will have led training from his bed, if you like, this week, and I'm sure he'll be watching a live stream of the game. He'll be speaking to his assistants, so any messages that he wants to get across, any substitutes he wants to make, he'll do that. Obviously it's not ideal, but I don't think once the players go over that white line, they'll all know the jobs, they'll all know the roles and responsibilities, and I don't think it'll make that much difference.
Yeah, he's got an open phone line to the bench this afternoon, as you say. He'll be watching the game as well from Barcelona, so he'll be across it, and I'm sure there'll be a word regularly in Juanma Leo's play in his ear, and Pep will be dictating. Problem is, I guess there will be a time delay to what Pep sees from what happens here at Bramall Lane, so maybe it might be a little bit reactive rather than proactive from the boss, but City are phenomenal, aren't they? They know what they're doing, as Nicky said, that they're so well drilled that it won't have an impact.
It's probably, people like ourselves are probably making more of it than the actual is. For the players, the messages will still be the same. All the staff will know their jobs, all the players will know their jobs, and he's just literally not there on the touchline. But it is what it is. It happens occasionally. I think the first Manchester derby I played in, I don't think Sir Alex turned up. I think he was at his son's wedding, and they still beat us. So but yeah, I don't think it'll make that much difference.
Well, you've been talking about him being in contact with Leo, and Leo himself says that Guardiola has been in constant touch. To quote him, he says, "The contact is continuous. telephone, video call, everything.
Well, I can imagine him being the worst patient in the world, can't you? Because you can't imagine him sitting still, can you?
No, definitely not. Well, he says in his quote that Pep prefers to speak face-to-face to the players. So that would be him dealing with it in terms of a pre-match message anyway. Says the form and content is his work. We're not doing a video conference because he doesn't want that. He wants face-to-face contact, and he's in the message that are going to be relayed. So that's interesting as well, isn't it, Nicky? That we would expect Pep, as you say, to be in constant contact. We'd expect him to do that if it wasn't in the season, because I imagine he would make for an awful patient just lying there. But interesting, that face-to-face aspect that's important to him, and that communication with his players.
Yeah, like you say, I've been speaking to the manager all week. I remember, I was working at Sheffield Wednesday with the first team, and our manager Darren Moore got COVID, so he wasn't at a couple of games, and he was on a live video link into the dressing room on the big screen, so he could get his message across. So listen, with modern technology, it won't really be an issue. He'll be kicking and heading every ball, I'm sure, from his bed, and yeah, like I said before, I don't think it'll make that much difference because everyone will know what they're doing already.
Absolutely, and the main thing is that you two are there, Mike Maine and Nicky Weaver, to bring us all the coverage. We're back with them for more build-up in just a moment. Yes, it's been quite some week at Manchester City in terms of transfer rumours swilling around what is usually a pretty quiet club when it comes to activity. Sam Lee is the Manchester City reporter for The Athletic and joins you now from Bramall Lane, where the Blues are set to face Sheffield United. We'll have commentary, of course, on the way from 2. Most of these rumours are around finding a replacement for Kevin De Bruyne, who's out injured for 4 months. What's the latest, Sam, as you understand it?
Yeah, I suppose it's hurried along by De Bruyne being injured, but I think ever since Gundogan left and they tried to get Declan Rice, there's been interest bubbling away in different midfielders. Like you say, they don't normally dip their toe into the market after the season started. I think the only player previous to this season that they brought in after the season started under Guardiola was Akanji last summer. So obviously, it's late to still be talking about it now, but they thought they'd identified Paquetá at West Ham, and then obviously that betting investigation threw a spanner into the works on that one. So yeah, right up until the middle of last week, they were kind of deciding, what do we need here if he stays? What do we need here if he goes? Do we need someone like Eze at Crystal Palace? Or do we need someone like Núñez at Wolves? Not similar players at all, but it depended on what they decided they were going to need, depending on who might stay and who might go. And obviously Calvin Phillips' future is a bit unsure. And to an extent, so is Cole Palmer's. So in the end, it's Núñez at Wolves. Yeah, I wouldn't put him down as a De Bruyne replacement, but certainly as an extra body in midfield that they've been looking at doing since the end of last season. It's either going to be him or nobody at this point.
What is it they like about Núñez then, if not a De Bruyne replacement? What is it that would appeal to City about him in particular?
Well, it's really interesting this summer because I think we've seen with Kovacic already, and I'm sure everybody listening to this and ready to watch the game or listen to the game, they've been really impressed with Kovacic. You'll have also noticed he carries the ball a lot. Of all the amazing traits that City have had over the last couple of years, and particularly their amazing midfield, they've not got ball carriers in there. They've not really got somebody who can beat a couple of men by himself and then lay a pass off. But Kovacic can do that, Núñez can do that, and obviously Doku, who we may talk about, is a very good example of doing that. But yeah, in terms of the midfield, Núñez is probably biggest quality, most eye-catching quality is his ability to carry the ball. And you think, how does that work at City? But if you think a lot of their games are going to be against teams that defend, and City have obviously got to be very patient, pick the lock, a lot of patient passes left to right. But if you've got somebody who can just all of a sudden stroll past 2 or 3 players and burst 5 yards, 10 yards forward and then lay it off, you've beaten that line of pressure by yourself. That's something Núñez can do, and I think that's something that appeals.
And another player that's been mentioned, we just talked about Núñez there, but also Eberechi Eze. What do you think about him in terms of where he might fit in and what Guardiola might be looking at from that regard? Yeah,
well, that one's not going to happen. Unless Núñez doesn't happen and they maybe test the waters with Crystal Palace, and if Crystal Palace are open to sale, maybe. But that was the decision in the middle of last week. It was basically between those two. Although they're not similar players, they had to decide what do we need and who's going to fit in where. but they went for Nunes in the end, and that's why they've made a bid which was rejected at the end of last week, and they'll try again. But Eze, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I think he's a really good player, it doesn't look like he's going to be an option. But if he were to come, just again, another fantastic dribbler of the ball, somebody who can take on a lot of players, and carrying the ball through the middle of the pitch is a really underrated skill because nobody's really equipped to deal with it. If you think about the holding midfielders, they need protection around them. Rodri's amazing, but they need that protection. They need to stop being attacked down their sides, down the wings. They're only so mobile, and if you've suddenly got somebody who's willing to take you on down the middle, rather than, if you're trying to take on Carl Walker, he'll happily match you up. But in the middle, it doesn't happen so much. So Eze would have been fantastic from that point of view, but yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like it'll be him. But hopefully, personally, I wouldn't mind it too much if they went back for him next summer, because he's only got 2 years left on his contract.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Jeremy Doku as well on the bench today. 65 million euros on him. What is it you like about him? We heard Mike and Nicky talking about his ability to get past players. What have you seen in him that you've sort of get excited about?
Well, it would have to be that. It's just so eye-catching. It's more, I don't know exactly what the guys were saying, but I think anybody now who's got even just a bit of passing info on Doku, which is what we've all had basically prior to this week, knows he's a great dribbler of the ball, but he just does it so often, but he's so good at it. So I think there was a stat, per 90 minutes last season on average, he did 11.1 take-ons per game, so 11 dribbles basically, and he had a 60% success rate. And you think, if you're doing it that much, I think he dribbled it more than anybody in Europe's top 5 leagues last year. But you think if you're doing it that much, he must be losing quite a few. But I think 60% is a very, very high success rate. But obviously the thing that excites me the most is not so much the skills that he's got now, but what he could do if you add it into this City team and you add him in with Guardiola's plans. He's very direct. He's not quite as different from the City players that they've already got as you may think, but he is obviously much quicker and he is very direct, but he does like the ball to feet. So he is like Grealish, he's like Bernardo, he is like Mahrez, who's obviously left. He will get the ball to feet and then he can decide to go either way. So yeah, he can dribble either way, he can come inside and go down the outside. But it's more the fact that it's the potential to improve under Guardiola. Because his goals record's not great, his assist record isn't great, but I think with the raw ability that he's got and the determination to learn and just working with Guardiola and these coaches and these players, that's the exciting thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does tend to happen, doesn't it, that they go from up the levels pretty quickly under Pep. One thing that's talked about consistently, Sam, obviously right across football, is money and finance and expenditure, and this is something that Pep Guardiola's always praised in terms of their net spend. In the next few weeks though, it could well sort of swing back in favour of the critics. Huge spending incoming, not cheap signings of course.
No, the thing is, this is the thing about City. You talk about Guardiola always mentioning the net spend and those kind of figures, but City, they really do like to have leverage in a deal. So we've seen them buy a lot of players with release clauses. I think part of the reason, only part of it, but part of the reason they've not looked at Eze more seriously is because Palace are going to hold out for quite a lot. But if you look at their deals so far, Kovacic, they knew that Chelsea had to sell, so they got him for less than 30 million, I think it was. Obviously, Guardiola was quite a lot, but as an investment over the years, they were happy to spend that money, but also they knew they had a release clause next year, so they had a bit of leverage there, and it was, well, if they don't accept this now, then he's going to go next year anyway. And they haggled all summer and got him down from Leipzig wanting more than 100 million euros to, was it 90 million in the end. And that's from them haggling. And then with Wolves and Nunes, Wolves have got financial problems, so they know that they're more likely to accept the deal. So I don't know, it's going to be 60 million, 65 million, something like that. Yeah, it's a lot, but by Premier League standards, it's not huge. We look at Chelsea at the moment, it's not huge. Arsenal have spent an awful lot since Arteta's been there as well. So like Guardiola says, everybody spends. I don't think the critics will have too much of a leg to stand on. City have still sold players. They could still sell Tommy Doyle this week, Harwood Bellis this week. I'm not sure about Cole Palmer. I think he may stay, but if he goes, it'd be another 30 million. So City could make 60 million between those three, spend it on Nunes, and then the net spend would still be absolutely fine. So I don't think it's too much of a problem. And yeah, City, they always like to haggle for their pennies. Don't worry about that.
Crazy money, isn't it? Good news though, of course, is that they've managed to tie down Bernardo Silva until 2026 with his contract extension, which of course we were talking about earlier with Nicky and the importance, that role that he plays in the side. There's a tweet here from Cal on that, saying best signing of the summer is Bernardo extending his contract. Myself and most Blues, I think, were resigned to losing him this summer, so for him to commit his future and extend his contract is a real coup for us. Aymeric Laporte has gone to Saudi Arabia this week, Sam. It was probably on the cards for him to leave the club, especially with Guardiola coming in.
Yeah, it was. It just kind of got to the point where a change of scenery was needed. We obviously lost his place in the team second half of last season, and you saw the other defenders in the squad, basically all of them, become like so reliable, so solid. They were used so often in the run to the Champions League finals. He obviously didn't start either of those finals like Mahrez, and it became time for him to leave. We obviously saw how upset he was when he got the Premier League trophy against Chelsea, and then when he had his pictures taken with some of his trophies the other day, he was crying again. Very emotional time for him, but he knew it was time to leave. I think what City fans have been surprised about is that he didn't get a move to another top club, or even like a Chelsea, Arsenal, like City sold to last year. But I think he had some level of interest from Arsenal, but they never pushed it through. I think Aston Villa were kind of interested, but they went for somebody else, and he wasn't too interested in that. Athletic Bilbao, where he came from, were interested, but he didn't really want to go back to where he came from. So Chelsea were looking for younger players. I know they spend a lot and they buy a lot of players, but to be fair, they do want younger players. Tottenham were looking for younger players, so it might seem strange that he didn't end up at even at Tottenham. Obviously at Bayern Munich would have been a great move. Barcelona, Real Madrid, he had a bit of interest, but it didn't really suit him. The top clubs didn't really want him, and then he had a massive offer from Saudi Arabia. I think it's worth more than £400,000 a week tax free, and so he thought, well, if I've got nothing that particularly appeals, I might as well go with that one, and we'll see where he is. Maybe he comes back to Europe in a couple of years.
It's not a bad might as well, is it? 400 grand a week, might as well. Nicky, were you surprised at this?
Not particularly. Again, when you talk about the money that's getting banded around, it's you can't blame the players for wanting to go. The clubs are getting decent money for them, so I think it sort of works out all round. I mean, the Saudi Pro League, it's I think the window opens a week after the Premier League window shuts, so that might be interesting if some massive bids come in for players right at last knockings there, and they haven't got time to replace them. But I actually think it's almost good in a way, because English teams are getting money for maybe aging players that they wouldn't get from anywhere else.
And Sam, is it fair to say that all this activity so late in the transfer window is quite unlike Manchester City?
Yeah, it's definitely unlike City. Like I said earlier on, since Guardiola came, I think they've only signed one player prior to the season, after the season had started, and that was Akanji last year, and that was an emergency thing that Guardiola needed, well, I felt he needed it, and the team agreed. But yeah, generally they like to have everything set up early. I talked about them negotiating and haggling. Part of that is getting the deals agreed with players, we're talking February, March, April time, so they go into the summer knowing exactly who they're going to get. For different reasons this season, it's been a bit more destabilised. Obviously Declan Rice chose to go to Arsenal instead, really. City didn't want to get into a bidding war with that, and obviously they weren't sure what was going to happen with Gundogan. They weren't sure what was going to happen with Mahrez. They fought tooth and nail to keep Kyle Walker, and thank goodness they did, because again we saw the squad last week again against Newcastle. If they hadn't had Kyle Walker, it would have been even tougher. And like Cal said on the tweet, Bernardo Silva staying is probably the signing of the summer. They fought tooth and nail to keep him as well. So yeah, it's been very disorganised this summer by their standards. It is unlike them, but to be fair to them, they're finding solutions. They've got Doku in. I'd imagine they'll sign Nunes too, and they've managed to keep Walker in and Bernardo, which is really big. If they get to the end of the window with those guys coming in, Kovacic as well, and Guardiola, I think it'd be a good window. It's taken them a while to get there. I think they've done very well.
It's looking pretty good all round. Thank you very much, Sam. Enjoy the game today. Speaking of which, Sheffield United have lost their opening 2 games since returning to the Premier League. Head coach Paul Heckingbottom says he knows today's test will be the Blades' toughest yet, but claims his side have learned some lessons since that FA Cup semi-final last year.
There's going to be moments where we're going to have to be a bit aggressive and take risks. We know that if we want to get a result, create chances, score goals. But at the same time, you have to accept that they're the moments where they can capitalise and get their good moments. So there's a little bit of cat and mouse there, we know that. We could see the levels in the FA Cup semi-final. Mistakes were punished and the game went away from us, so we know we've got to almost play the perfect game.
How much do the circumstances around the semi-final, maybe you learn from that for this one, or is it just so different because they've got a different team, clearly the key player Haaland and all of that, but or are you expecting something similar this time around?
What, from the game? No, I think their team will be different. Obviously ours is very much different. So it's different occasion. But I think tactically we know what City pose, what problems they pose, and what they try and do against certain teams, and what they'll try and do against our system. What we don't know is the personnel that's going to be in those key positions which they try and hold. So that's going to change the dynamic of the game, and so long as we're prepared enough, I think once the teams come out 75 minutes before, that's the last bit of detail. Rather than really flood the players now, we're preparing for the things which we know are going to happen, and then the finer bits of detail when you really know what the dynamic City team will only be when we see the team sheet.
Well, Nicky Weaver, of course, former City goalkeeper, is part of your commentary team today. Nicky, anything can happen in football, but it's difficult to see anything other than a City win today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if this game was played 20 times, you'd expect Man City to win it 19 and a half times, wouldn't you? So it's going to be really difficult for Sheffield United. They've got to try and stay in the game as long as they can. Obviously, they've had a difficult start to their season, losing both their opening games. The problem for Sheffield United is if City get an early goal, the floodgates could open. But like you said, anything can happen in 90 minutes of football.
It certainly can. Well, just a couple of moments away from kick-off at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United and Manchester City. Your commentary team, as you've just been hearing, former City goalkeeper Nicky Weaver, and first, Mike Mino.
Stacey, thank you. Sheffield United experienced something Manchester City didn't last season, being a runner-up. However, coming second in the Championship, got the Blades up to the Premier League, back in the big time after 2 seasons away. On the theme of coming second, United have been second best so far in their opening 2 games, losing both. Manchester City have started this season like they ended the last, winning 2 wins from 2. They could become the only Premier League team to win 3 from 3 at the start of the season today, and they'll look to continue their unbeaten start at a ground that they've not lost at since 2008. Since the Blues were last here in October 2020, there's been a change in both dugouts. Sheffield United's more permanent, perhaps. Chris Wilder replaced by Paul Heckingbottom. Manchester City's is temporary. Pep Guardiola's resting up after a back operation, so it's his assistant Juan Marleo who steps up today. I look at the 2 teams then. Sheffield United make 1 change from their 2-1 defeat to Nottingham Forest 9 days ago. George Baldock replaces Max Lowe. So Fotheringham in goal, as he was for the FA Cup semi-final between the pair last season. Ahmed Hodzic, Egan and Robinson are the back 3. They'll place 4 in midfield with Baldock, Norwood, D'Souza and Osborne, with Hamer and Traore sitting just behind Will Osula up front. Manchester City have had 8 days rather, since their last game, a 1-0 win over Newcastle. 2 changes there. Manuel Akanji, not fully fit, misses out altogether. Phil Foden, struggling with a little bit of illness, travelled over himself today, so not to be on the team coach. He's on the bench. In come Bernardo Silva and Nathan Ake. So Edison in goal for Manchester City, looking to keep 3 clean sheets at the start of the season for the first time in a Manchester City shirt. The Blues goalkeeper Walker, Diaz, Vardiol and Ake the back 4 today. Bernardo Silva partners Rodri and Kovacic in midfield. Julian Alvarez and Jack Grealish at either side of Manchester City's Erling Haaland, his first trip to Bramall Lane as well. Teams are out. Manchester City will be in their sky blue shirts, white shorts, sky blue socks, and Sheffield United will be in their famous red and white stripes, vertical stripes, black shorts and black socks. The 2 captains have done their bit in the middle. Kyle Walker again for Manchester City, John Egan for Sheffield United. Both teams in their pre-match huddles as well. In either half, City to our left, Sheffield United to our right. A packed Bramall Lane, and if it goes Sheffield United's way in the opening few moments, Nicky Weaver, this will be a tough test for City.
Absolutely, the place is full. Sheffield United can get behind the team, but they've got to have a good start. They've got to stay in the game as long as they can, and if they're going to do anything in this game and the season going forward, they've got to make this place a little bit of a fortress, and they've got to pick up points at home, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them today.
A pensive Juan Marleo on the bench takes a seat to his right today, usually occupied by Pep Guardiola. We wish him well, and good afternoon to you, Pep, if you're listening. to us on BBC Radio Manchester this afternoon. We are underway then. Manchester City from left to right in the first half. Sheffield United from right to left. Greasy chip butty ringing off the cop to our right hand side. Packed and everybody on their feet in that feature stand of Bramall Lane. Couple of long balls from kick off as City hook it up midway inside the Sheffield United half. It is then flicked round the corner for Will Asula, one of the summer signings of Sheffield United, and Paul Heckingbottom, the Dane. He spent last season at Derby County. He was a sub in 13 of 16 games for Derby County last season, and here he is starting in the Premier League against the reigning champions. Edison on the ball. He's in a chalky green outfit this afternoon. Slightly darker tones on Wes Foderingham, the Sheffield United goalkeeper who conceded 3 to Riyad Mahrez in April in that FA Cup semi-final. Vardiol tries a stretch forward, loses the ball, but it runs away to Jack Grealish out on the left-hand side. He just rotates it back through to Vardiol, and across the back line for Nathan Ake. And if we look at the early, they may change in a minute with out of position or whatever, but it looks Vardiol is left back, Ake is the left-sided centre-back.
Certainly lined up like that to start with. That caught us all off guard a little bit. Well, interesting to see how he does out there.
Here is Vardiol on the ball again. Quiet couple of games to start his Manchester City career with. Came off the bench for his debut against Burnley, already 3-0 up at the time, and quiet last week against Newcastle United.
Yeah, we're already just 90 seconds into the game, and I think this is how it's going to be. Sheffield United sitting in the lower block, and there's not one player, only Edison in the City half, and I think this is going to be the story of the first half.
They're going to try and keep it tight, aren't they, Sheffield United? Played 2 minutes 0-0. No real test yet for Foderingham. As Nicky said, the way that Sheffield United are sitting in, no test for Edison. It'll be interesting to see how long till he gets the first test. Don't expect, perhaps though, a goal fest between these two sides. Only 11 goals in their last 10 games as a pairing, and of those 11 goals, Sheffield United have scored just one. Brian Deane, all the way back in April 1993.
Interested on that, we did the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley together, and Sheffield United did have a couple of chances early on, and the game could have been different if they'd have taken those.
Very good point, they did. Not so much today on their home territory. Here is Grealish, 10 yards to the byline, getting the booze, not sure why. And he stumbles as he turns back out to the far side, trips on the ball, and he's conceded a goal kick for Wes Foderingham. Jack Grealish getting regular starts now for Manchester City out on that left-hand side, getting that partnership with Erling Haaland in the middle. Perhaps not his fluid best just then.
No, he sort of stumbled over the ball, much to the delight of the cop at Sheffield United, giving him a little bit of stick. But he's a kind of player, I think, that thrives off a bit of stick, so Sheffield United fans ought to be a bit careful goading him.
Sheffield United never beaten Manchester City in the Premier League during 3 times out of 10 matches. As it's a header forward from Asula. Will be chased down, but unsuccessfully by Gustavo Hamer. Scored a great goal against Nottingham Forest last week, but Sheffield United still lost that one 2-1 at the City ground. Here's Ruben Diaz to the right hand side of defence. Kyle Walker, the captain, scored the winner between the pair in Bramall Lane in October 2020 in their last meeting here. Long range strike from him, drilled into the bottom corner on his 100th Premier League appearance for the club. There might have been some that feared he wouldn't have many more to make in the summer in a Manchester City shirt, but that has changed a little bit. No official confirmation yet, but it does look increasingly likely that he's going to stay at Manchester City this season. Throwing down the near side for Sheffield United. Asula will try and control. He flicks it infield for Traore. Vardiol, he's there to help Manchester City out. Grealish and Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, much as the same. City, Sheffield had a little spell there, but City look like they're going to, control possession as you expect them to do. It was interesting then when Edison got the ball on the edge of his box. They were quite high, Sheffield United. I just wondered if, as we've seen before, when Haaland starts to make these runs in behind, he tried to go out to Walker and just overhit it. But it'll be interesting to see that how that progresses through the first half. 2 men keeping a close eye on Erling Haaland in John Egan and Jack Robinson this afternoon. Alvarez tries to turn 25 yards out. Haaland then comes seemingly from an offside position, but for now the flag stays down and play continues. Kyle Walker just outside the right corner of the penalty area near side as we look at it. Rodri into Kovacic, has a little flick to the right hand side, loses the ball,
Sheffield United on their charge up towards the halfway line, lose out themselves. Now Bernardo Silva into the penalty area on the right hand side, just outside the 6-yard box. He's got plenty of men around him, tries to drill a low ball in, bounces away out towards the touchline. Kyle Walker's turn now to whip one in, and that is picked up on this occasion. Sheffield United's defence, and sent long and away. Nathan Ake will have that inside his own half. Nicky Weaver.
Yeah, terrific skill there from Bernardo Silva, what we expect of him. He chopped about 4 defenders up with one trick then. Fortunately, he couldn't quite get his cross into the danger area, but yeah, promising signs for City.
Stands just outside the centre circle inside the Sheffield United half. Bernardo Silva at the minute. Here's Ruben Diaz. Well, the Portuguese contingent at Manchester City, and the rumours of Matheus Nunes might only add to that as well. Here is Jack Grealish on the left-hand touchline, far side. Comes in field 2-3 yards or so and lays it back. Here's Vardiol, not adventuring too far forward. That looks like it might be Kyle Walker's job of the 2 full-backs this afternoon to stretch the Sheffield United defence. Vardiol again, 10 yards inside the Blades half. No real cut through yet for Manchester City against the Blades.
It's almost as if you want Sheffield United to have the ball a little bit further up the pitch, just to, maybe try and hit them on a little bit of a counter-attack, because if you look at them now, they're pretty flat 5 across the back there, and it's going to be pretty difficult to get down the sides and in between. So yeah, it's almost, you need Sheffield United to get more advanced to maybe create some space.
Paul Heckingbottom enthusiastically walked out to the edge of his technical area, almost on the pitch then, but he's slowly walking backwards after issuing some instructions to his players. No sign of Wanmar Leo yet from his seat in the dugout. He remains sat down and comfortable for now. Did look pensive and a little bit nervous perhaps before kick-off. We've played 6 minutes, 0-0. Bernardo Silva looks to attack the Sheffield United penalty area yet again. Now he bends one in left-footed. Haaland's got a flick up on the head that goes over the bar. Had to be crafty, had to be inventive, just didn't quite come off. 0-0.
Yeah, again, good ball in from Bernardo, whipped in with his left foot from the right hand side, and it's a good run from Haaland, but he just got a bit too much perch on the ball. He needed to just sort of skim his head there to maybe loop over Fotheringham. Very windy, Mike, isn't it? Not if we're in a wind tunnel, but yeah, 2 of the players' shirts are rattling around a bit,
which is surprising because it's an enclosed arena, usually in the open stands, and where the corners aren't filled in it does get a little bit worse. But you can see the shadows from the flags on the Tony Curry stand where we are. They're down on the pitch and you can see them flapping away. Long goal kick by Fotheringham, the header forward from Jack Grealish on the halfway line. Haaland is going to put Egan under a little bit of pressure. He dealt with it well, and Fotheringham was on the edge of his penalty area, ready to collect the ball and relieve that pressure.
Pretty much every time Fotheringham's had it, it's gone long, so I don't think they'll be looking to play out short at all. And it's sort of difficult because they probably haven't got the players, to play out like City have. But every time they've gone long, they've pretty much lost the ball. So from Sheffield United's point of view, they've got to try and retain possession for a little bit longer than they have.
Yeah, it could be a long afternoon for the Blades. We've started with 2 defeats from 2 at home to Crystal Palace, then away to Nottingham Forest on their return back to the Premier League. There has been an early goal at Turf Moor. Burnley 0, Aston Villa 1. Another 2 o'clock kick-off. Aston Villa in European action in the week, trying to qualify for the Europa League. Matty Cash has got the goal in that game for anyone who maybe has an eye on their fantasy team. We've had a poor start this weekend to my fantasy side. Could be improved this afternoon, maybe. Here's Rodri coming forward midway inside the Sheffield United half. The challenge comes in, and then all of a sudden City are a little stretched here, but Sheffield United have got to make the right decisions as Hamer was venturing forward. The pass through was pretty poor, and Ruben Diaz, Edison and Ake between them have managed to pick it off, and City come forward again.
Yeah, probably the best situation Sheffield United have been in. Rodri got dispossessed, hit him on. It was a bit of a 3-on-3. Ball got played through, but Diaz was the right side of the attacker and eased it back to Edison. And yeah, that's the best situation Sheffield United's had. It's amazing the lift the crowd got just by having a little bit of possession over the halfway line.
I remember Sheffield United came to the Etihad Stadium and sat in for 60-70 minutes a couple of years ago, and then really went for it at the end, nearly nicked something. City did win 1-0 that day, and the Blade fans are going to have to help their team perhaps when they need it most. Here's Kovacic in from the left-hand side. Rodri in close proximity takes over the possession of the ball. Then out to the far side touchline for Jack Grealish to have a run at George Baldock. He's the one change for Paul Heckingbottom in the Sheffield United side today. Rodri curls it in, back post, looking for Walker, but it's headed away on this occasion by Ben Osborne, the other wing-back, diving header out of the box as the cross came in, this time early from Ruben Diaz. Kovacic just flicks it back into the centre circle, under a little bit of pressure from Traore.
Yeah, so far they've defended the wide balls in very well. Sheffield United, they've been there's only Haaland who had that flick header that went over. So yeah, City have put some decent balls in, but Sheffield United have defended them well so far.
Erling Haaland looking to become the quickest player to 40 goals in the Premier League. He's on 38 rather, in 37 games so far. Alan Shearer and Andy Cole got to 40 in 45 games. Kevin De Bruyne,
he'll comfortably beat that record.
You would expect so.
He comfortably beats most records, to be fair, doesn't he?
Well, the record that could go today, Pep Guardiola, if I know he's technically not here, but he's still the manager of Manchester City. It'll be his 200th game in the Premier League to win. He'll do it in 55 fewer than, as the header comes in from Haaland, easy one for Fotheringham to save. He'll do it in 55 fewer games, Pep Guardiola, than Sir Alex Ferguson managed. It's taken Pep just 269 games to get that 200th win. If it happens today, at the moment though, after 11 minutes, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0. It was a weak header in the box from Erling Haaland, who had space, really put the neck muscles behind it, but just didn't generate anything from it.
Yeah, it was a good ball in from Alvarez. It was just a little bit behind him, I think. And he was probably 10-11 yards out, slightly back stretching, and he got it on target, but it didn't trouble West Lothingham at all.
Sheffield United tried to come down the right hand side with Traore, just slipped and ran out of room at the same time. Ball went over the byline. City goal kick away to our left hand side. The City fans behind Edison at the minute on the lower tier of the stand to our left hand side. Here's Grealish on the left for Manchester City, far side, squaring up once again against Baldock, drifts the ball infield, uses Rodri. Now Kovacic, dodgy touch, but somehow has managed to take a deflection. Haaland uses his strength, and Manchester City have the first corner of the game out on the left hand side.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they try and work. Sometimes if you're going to work on a particular corner routine, you'll do it on if you're going to do anything fancy, you'll do it on the first one. But yeah, like I said, they put some good balls in so far, so Sheffield United have defended them well so far, and they're going to have to be on their toes here as well.
Everybody inside the penalty area for Sheffield United in those red and white shirts. Corner on the far side then to City, who've got 6 or 7 shirts in there. Haaland runs to the near post, tries to flick it on. Ake, Diaz in the 6-yard box, had his back to goal, was challenged, and Sheffield United clear it away. It was a crafty corner, and it very nearly came off, but it's still alive here with Walker feeding through Rodri, whose first time cross from the right of the penalty area sails behind. Goal kick Sheffield United.
Really disappointing cross from Rodri there. He got in a really good position. You wanted to sort of whip his foot round it, but he sort of put it straight over the crossbar. But it was a good corner in. Obviously they worked on that near post one. It looked like Haaland had a swing at it. I think it was Ake may have got a touch, and Sheffield United defended it well, but a half chance for City.
Now they want to use the pace of Traore down the left this time. Diaz across to cover, and referee says goal kick Sheffield United. And their fans certainly felt they were also going to get a corner, but not the way that the referee here this afternoon is Jared Gillett, not the way that he saw it. So we played 14 minutes, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0.
Certainly got a bit of pace up there, Mark, haven't they? They're going to miss Ndiaye this year. Rudy Soul to Marseille was terrific for them last year, but they've certainly got a bit of pace up there with a Sula and Traore. So and we've seen over recent seasons that City can be susceptible to the counter attack when opposition have got pace. So that's what Sheffield United are going to have to try and feed on today.
Traore there, 12 goals in 14 games this season. When he was playing for Häcken in Sweden. Their season starts a little bit earlier due to not being able to play over the winter time with the cold temperatures. So impressive start to his season. The City try and feed one in round the back. Good sliding challenge from John Egan. Otherwise Erling Haaland was in and clearing the penalty area, but Little warning there for Sheffield United as Vardiol. Nice little turn. Not sure whether he meant it too much, but now he's on a run down the left-hand side. We'll send it to his right-hand side for Walker from distance. His shot takes 2-3 deflections and Fotheringham scoops it up in the box.
I think you can see there, I think it was Guardiola who played, nearly got Haaland through, and a couple of touches there. I think you can see why he's playing on the outside and Aki's one in, because he's probably a little bit better on the ball than Aki. Aki's obviously a brilliant defender, but going forward it looks really promising for Guardiola there. He slipped a great ball down the side. I think it was John Egan who just got a challenge in, else Haaland would have been free. But it's typical Haaland, this sort of 45-50 yards out from goal, and he's always on the shoulder, always looking to run in behind. So yeah, Sheffield United have got to be very careful, not being too high when they've got possession of the ball.
So 0-0, bit of treatment here to Ben Osborne, who's gone down in the Sheffield United penalty area. Physios are on. Paul Heckingbottom's got half his squad around him. Still no sign of Wanmar Leo. There's a couple of people just resting an iPad on top of the dugout. I wonder if Pep Guardiola is on the other end of that iPad feeding maybe some instructions. Maybe he's happy with what he's seen so far, but as Paul Heckingbottom has to readjust things, maybe given the start Sheffield United have had, 0-0 yes, but under a lot of pressure. City actually, it's just more of the same. They don't need to change anything.
Yeah, interesting you said Paul Heckingbottom, a former teammate of mine at Sheffield Wednesday. He keeps that quiet these days, but yeah, he's got his players together. But yeah, I think he'll be reasonably happy. I think City will be reasonably happy. They've had, the lion's share of possession, which you would expect. Not had an absolute clear-cut chance yet, but they've had a few situations, and from Sheffield United's point of view, it's just how long they can keep in the game like this. Once you go one behind to City, it's going to be very difficult. But I think, so far, like opening third of the first half, if you like, both teams will be reasonably happy. But it looks like Sheffield United are making a change here.
Well, I think, the afternoon is over for Osborne. He was started all three of Sheffield United's games in the Premier League so far, but his afternoon ends after 17 minutes. In his place comes on Yasser Larouci.
He's had quite a good start, to be fair, Osborne. He's made some nice clearances, got a couple of challenges in, so he'll be very disappointed to go off.
Larouci, the loan signing from one of the CFG sister clubs, Troyes in France. He's a former Liverpool player as well. From their academy. Fotheringham once again takes the goal kick long following Osborne's treatment, and it's bumbled around a little bit inside the City half. Rodri again, the insured touch, and now Walker tries to skip past Larouci, who has a little nibble at him. Referee didn't feel there was anything in that towards City. The free kick. Walker then recovers the ball and plays it back to his own penalty area. He would have liked to have headed towards the Sheffield United penalty area, I think, showing he's still got pace.
Absolutely. I mean, I think he loves sprinting. He's one of the fastest players we've Premier League's probably ever seen. It's a big game for him as well against his former club. He's a boyhood Sheffield United fan. I think he's made no secret that he'd perhaps want to finish his career here. But there was talk of him going, and at one point it looked like he might be going. So, like I said, I don't think anything's official yet, but I think it's good news that he's staying. I think he's got another couple of good years left in him.
33, Kyle Walker celebrated that a couple of weeks ago. Born and raised in these parts, and great Premier League career. Kovacic is on a storming run down the middle here and wins a free kick for his troubles as well as he's fouled. Picked the ball up on the halfway line to the left of the centre circle, just kept running, and Sheffield United, the only way to stop him was to cut him down, pull him down, and one nibble, two nibbles at his feet. Traore doing his best. Kovacic held him off till it was just a little bit too much, and free kick to City.
Yeah, it was a great run from him. He's a good ball carrier. I think we touched on it beforehand, and a bit of a unspectacular signing, if you like, but he'll be someone who does a very, very good job. Obviously they lost Gundogan, so I think it's a good signing, Premier League experience, and yeah, he did fantastic there. And like I said, Sheffield United had no choice really to bring him down. I think he's a little bit far out for the shot, probably best part of 40 yards out, 35 plus, but very dangerous situation.
Alvarez and Bernardo Silva are the ones having a look at it. Alvarez skips over the ball, Bernardo clips it in, header is there for Rodri. Ake, 1-0. He's offside, the flag goes up. Well, Rodri won the header, that went vertically in the air. Ake was first to react, he puts it in the bottom right hand corner. but the flag was up instantly from the linesman on this near side.
Yeah, the goalkeeper, if you watch the replay, the goalkeeper slips massively as the ball comes in from Silva. He is offside, and it's Rodri who heads it up in the air. The goalkeeper looks like he's going to come for it, then slips, and then that allowed Ake in. So he's got away with one there a little bit, Wedford, but it was the correct decision. It was just a shoulder offside, if you like.
Yeah, it was Rodri on the initial run through from Bernardo Silva. Ake would have been onside, but VAR is checking this. I think it is a quick decision as well, given the fact that the referee has said to Wes Fotheringham, let's play on. Rodri's offside confirmed on the big screen as well. So Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0 after 20 minutes here at Bramall Lane. Alvarez won the ball back but then lost it on the edge of the Sheffield United penalty area, and City harassing Sheffield United. As soon as they get on the ball, the press is quick, the press is high, and City have it with Ruben Diaz.
That's the first time that Wes Fotheringham's tried to play out from a goal kick, and City pressed the life out of him and won the ball back in a really dangerous area. So it's, I think Sheffield United don't just stick to going long.
Yeah, they won't be doing that again, will they? 0-0. Here is Alvarez on the left, supporting Jack Grealish for now. Rodri. Diaz midway inside the Sheffield United half, had a look into the box. Goes right to Bernardo Silva instead. Now Walker, little sidestep to take the ball past Larouci. It's a deep cross to the back post. Jack Grealish will go chasing all the way out towards the far side and try and keep it in, and he does on the half volley. Send it back to the halfway line, but he must have run out of time, run out of room. It's going to be a Sheffield United throw-in on the far side there, right, level with the corner of the penalty area. Another goal at Turf Moor, another goal for Matty Cash, another goal for Aston Villa. So Burnley 0, Aston Villa 2. Burnley playing their first game since losing to Manchester City on the opening day. They were due to play Luton last week, but Kenilworth Road not ready yet. Means that Burnley have had to wait a little while. Newcastle, Liverpool later, big game at St James's Park as well. I'm sure City on their way back from Bramall Lane. We'll have an eye on that. Pass back from Sheffield United, a bit risky. No one from a blue shirt of Manchester City able to do too much with the ball. Haaland pressed Fotheringham, the goalkeeper, who was on the chase inside his own penalty area. Here is Rodri, right to the centre circle. Bernardo Silva, 0-0. And Nathan Ake now inside the Manchester City half. He just jogs into the centre circle. There's been a lot of this game where City are allowed to slow the ball right down, walking pace almost, because particularly in these parts on the halfway line, there's just no pressure from Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think Sheffield United are quite happy for City to have the ball in and around the halfway line. There's no point in going pressing because they'll get picked off. So yeah, it's pretty much the story of the first half. Sheffield United have just got to try and be a little bit tidier in possession. They're working the socks off to try and win the ball back, and then when they win the ball back, they turn it straight over again. So it's been a difficult half, Sheffield United, but they'll be delighted midway through the first half. But you just feel that City are going to start turning the screw soon.
It remains goalless. Here's Ruben Diaz, right hand side of the field, the near side for Manchester City, as we look at it from our position at the back of the Tony Curry stand here on BBC Radio Manchester and anywhere in the UK on BBC Sounds. So if you're heading out and about, you can take us with you this afternoon and listen to the game wherever you're going in the UK. Here's Ruben Diaz on the right hand side. Haaland let it run past him, and the ball never got to Bernardo Silva, too far in front of him. Cleared away by Sheffield United. It's another Manchester City throw.
It's quite strange, isn't it, without Pep being there, sort of gesticulating and making every tackle and winning every header and he's really animated on the line. So it's quite unusual for he's a lonesome man there, Paul Eckenbottom.
He is. He looks to his left. I don't think you'll have seen Juan Marleo yet this afternoon next to him on the edge of the technical area, but as we've said, perhaps no need either. Here's Diaz towards Vardiol out on the left hand side in the sunshine here in South Yorkshire. A little strip that almost draws level with the edge of the penalty areas, the bit of shade that we have on this near side. Walker on the right in the shade, heads towards the corner of the Blades penalty area. Back he goes to Diaz. It's a right-footed pass to Bernardo Silva, just outside the 18-yard box. He runs towards the byline, cuts it back once again. It's Kyle Walker, Rodri, Kovacic just slips into a little gap in the middle. Nowhere to play it forward though. Has to go back to the right hand side, and City will now try and stretch Sheffield United as they move to the left with Vardiol into Alvarez. Nice little pass that from Vardiol, and Alvarez was on the same wavelength, but not for the first time in this game. An infield pass from Alvarez. He's picked off by the Blades, who themselves now want to be creative and push it forward with a little flick through, but it doesn't come off. Vinny Souza will not get a chance to run at the City defence, and the blue shirts of City have it again.
Really loose from Alvarez there, but on the edge of the box. But what was really impressive, he was the first one to be charging back, and he ended up being in his own half, winning the ball back. So that's pretty much, what you've got to do if you want to play for one of Pep's teams.
And City looking to win 3 from 3 at the start of the season for the first time since Pep's first season in charge, all the way back in 2016. It's for a side that's won trophy after trophy in 5 Premier Leagues in 6 years. Bit of a surprising stat of perhaps how slow they've started, but they've always picked it up well. They have started well this season. Here is Kovacic into the box. The pass came from Grealish. The block comes in from Ollie Norwood, and Grealish concedes the throw on the far side, but Kovacic getting involved there.
Yeah, he's really sort of last 10 minutes. He's really had a bit more of an influence on the game. Got the ball out to Grealish there, but yeah, it was a good effort from Grealish. Down the wing, flicked it back inside of Kovacic. He had a good shot, and it's well blocked by Ollie Norwood. You just get the impression that City are just starting to pick the pace up now. We're just starting to probe that Sheffield United back line a bit more. Hopefully they'll be able to break through before half time.
So 0-0 it remains. 26 minutes played. Certainly the best attacking move that Manchester City have probably had in this game there. The little combo between Grealish and Alvarez and Kovacic rather. Still no breakthrough though. Here's Bernardo Silva on the halfway line. Kyle Walker matching him stride for stride out on the right hand touchline. Bernardo Silva then pirouettes 360 on the ball and couldn't maybe perhaps make up his mind as to what he wanted to do, but Walker's just flicked a lovely ball through to Haaland, who'll use his body well. The ball may run away to Alvarez, and it's wide of the left hand post. Brilliant work from Erling Haaland there on the right hand side. Used his body so well to then try and get the turn and the angle of the shot. As the ball ran to Alvarez, you'd probably back him to score. He couldn't find the net, and City have a corner on the far side.
Yeah, it's Kyle Walker flicks the ball inside. Haaland backs into, I think it's Robinson or Egan, and yeah, it ends up falling to Alvarez, and it ends up being a great save from Wes Foderingham, the best chance of the game so far.
And the corner near post is dealt with by Sheffield United, but City have it again. Here is Alvarez. He puts the cross in left-footed to the edge of the 6-yard box. This time it is Robinson to help it away. City have a throw-in.
Just hanging on here a little bit, Sheffield United. You can see City starting to put more pressure on, putting balls into the box, getting good situations around the edge of the box. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion. It's when and not if.
Absolutely, and certainly Haaland gave them a big scare then. Just his strength, isn't it, in the box? Sheer strength. The Sheffield United defenders are not
they're
weak
not small, are they, or weak?
Yeah, and he just brushed them off, really, didn't he?
As we know, he's superhuman, isn't he? So he's faster than everyone else, stronger than everyone else, and he did really well there. Really good forward play.
It's still 0-0 though. That's the voice of Nicky Weaver, the former Manchester City goalkeeper, with us on BBC Radio Manchester this afternoon. Rodri's found some space, edge of the D. He can hit them from there. This one he rolls to the right hand side of the box of Walker. It's a low one in right across goal, and behind Grealish nor Haaland could get there, and it's going to be a Manchester City corner despite the appeals and the protests from the Kop.
Yeah, it's a great ball in from Walker. Whips it in with his right foot. He put it in the corridor in between the goalkeepers and the defender, and Haaland's there. He went to the near post, the ball went to the back post. Grealish comes in the back post, but it's well defended in the end. It's another City corner.
This time Alvarez raises 2 hands in the air out on the far side, the left. He sends this one in swinging delivery that then is dealt with by Egan, headed out. It's a Manchester City throw.
Must be 15 minutes since Edison touched the ball. It's been that one-sided.
He could have.
I think I could have played this opening half an hour or so.
He could have read the Sunday papers and all the supplements that come with it as well, I think, Edison, for the lack of action that he's had in this game. Yet to be tested. 29 minutes in, 0-0. Wes Foderingham really hasn't been overly tested himself. The defence most certainly has of the Blades. As City look to go through them like a blade through hot butter, maybe. Lovely flick over the top from Bernardo Silva. Diaz, Walker on the right hand side. Diaz was in the penalty area, pulled the ball back out for Kyle Walker. Now Bernardo Silva tries to worm his way past Vinny Sousa. He's pulled down. It's another one of those where the only way to stop them is to foul them, and Manchester City have a free kick 25 yards out, right hand side of the penalty area.
Yeah, great play from Bernardo. He's great to watch, isn't he? This sort of way pirouettes and twists and turns. I bet he's good on the dance floor on a Saturday night. But yeah, the only way to stop him at the minute is to bring him down. It's a really dangerous one.
Better than me on the dance floor last night at the wedding I attended anyway, most certainly. If only I had the moves like Bernardo Silva. 0-0, but can City break through here? Alvarez and Bernardo Silva. Kyle Walker's, I think, just had a quick word in the ear of Alvarez as he's jogged past him. So it's either the left foot of Bernardo or the right of Julian Alvarez. It is a three-man Sheffield United wall. One very tall player in Osula. The rest are a little bit short in stature. It is the right of Alvarez that bent in but over the bar. He went for goal. I think Fotheringham probably had it covered. Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, never really enough conviction in the strike. Perhaps Bernardo would have been better off whipping it in, but he's maybe seen a gap on the near post and tried to whip it round the wall. Sheffield United again tried to play out and nearly got caught.
But they have worked it to the halfway line and can't play it. They rushed that. They were looking for Osula down the middle. Traore involved there, but Nathan Ake read it all the way and stopped it before it got to Osula. Almost as if they got excited that they were going forward.
The fans certainly did. We'll just see what happens with Grealish here down the left-hand side.
Just outside the corner of the penalty area, plays it back to Vardiol. Vardiol to Ruben Diaz, and City now move it from the far side, the left to the near side, the right, with Bernardo Silva again spinning and dancing on the ball. But that time better work from Gustavo Hamer, back doing his defensive duties, and he made it work on this occasion. City send the long ball to the right hand side. Larucci clears it out for a throw in, and to Manchester City level with the penalty area.
Yeah, the Sheffield United fans are getting behind Sheffield United here. They're holding on well. Sort of 10 minutes ago it looked like City were going to start really putting the pressure on, and they have done, to be fair, but they only had one clear-cut chance, from that was Alvarez, and it was well saved by Wes Fotheringham.
Here is Kovacic, who himself has had half an opportunity. Rodri to Alvarez, who looks to set off again. This time it's a left-footed cross into the penalty area that doesn't get near Haaland nor Bernardo. Walker knows exactly where Bernardo is. It's a no-look flick over the top pass, but he still finds his teammate Kyle Walker. Then accusations of handball against Bernardo Silva. Ball runs over the byline anyway. Sheffield United goal kick. They did have that little moment a couple of minutes ago. Nicky Weaver, Sheffield United trying to get through, but as I say, they seem to rush it, and Nathan Ake read it easily enough.
Yeah, he did, Ake. Like I say, he rushed it a little bit. You could certainly sense the excitement from the fans, and I think the players got a little bit excited as well. But you know, how long can Sheffield United sort of keep defending like they're defending? It is his last-ditch defending at the sort of the last 15 or 20 minutes. So yeah, if they can get to half-time at 0-0, they'll have swam the channel.
Mentally, how exhausting is it?
But that's when you see games like this, it's generally you see teams holding on, and then the top teams always get goals late on, because it's so difficult. You know, it's difficult when you've not got the ball. You've got to concentrate. Every single player that City have got can create something out of nothing. You've got to ride your luck at times. You've got to hope your goalkeeper helps you out. So yeah, Sheffield United are doing terrific so far, but they've got a long way to go.
Here they come down the right hand side. Hamer plays the ball out towards Baldock, who'd gone on the charge. City have dealt with that, and here's Bernardo Silva just outside his own penalty area, caught in possession, and Edison has a touch, because the challenge came in from Hamer.
A little bit casual there from Bernardo Silva in his own box, and yeah, nearly gifted Sheffield United a chance. So yeah, they've got to just not be too comfortable. City, it's 0-0. They've obviously got a big foothold in the game, and they're dominating the play, but they don't want to do anything silly.
It was unnecessary from Bernardo Silva, that as well. He had time, he had space, he had teammates, he had options, and somehow let Hamer in, and Edison had to react quickly and pick the loose ball up, which he did. He'll probably be thankful for the touch. 34 minutes played, 0-0. But it is the cop that you can hear. Sheffield United have a little something about them at the minute now, with City trying to quieten them down. Alvarez Half volley flick across the penalty area looking for Erling Haaland. Here is Grealish to react against Baldock, sends it through. Alvarez, the angle will be tight, he'll want to pull it back. Huge appeals of handball. Penalty to Manchester City given by Jared Gillett, the referee. As City with Alvarez tight to the byline, trying to pull it back for Erling Haaland. The sliding defender in trouble, and penalty given. An advantage now, maybe, turning to Manchester City. John Egan, the captain, his left arm was out.
Yeah, there's nothing intentional there, but his arm's out and it's going to be a penalty. It certainly won't get overturned. There's nothing he can do about it, but his hand, he knows as well. You can see him bashing the ground. It's when he goes to make the slide, it's just a natural position, although it's unnatural away from his body, and very unlucky for Sheffield United. But they have been sort of riding the luck the last 15 or 20 minutes. So yeah, it's going to be Erling Haaland against West Fotherham.
One of their longest serving players, John Egan, the 30-year-old Irishman. Played with them the last time they were in the Premier League as well. But it will be Erling Haaland from the spot to help, hopefully, give Manchester City the lead. Fotheringham palms the crossbar, bouncing on his goal line. The referee with a little delay here as he checks the penalty area and tells the players no encroachment. The cop, the fans of Sheffield United behind the goal to our right hand side all stand up, all waving their arms, trying to distract the big Norwegian of Erling Haaland, who takes 4, 5, 6, 7 strides back to the edge of the penalty area. It is Erling Haaland, it's hit the post, Haaland hits the post, and Manchester City missed the penalty. The follow-up flies out to the far side. The Norwegian misses from 12 yards, and still City can't find a way past Sheffield United. He smacks the right-hand post, Erling Haaland, left-footed. Fotheringham was on his line, and maybe those Sheffield United fans did put Erling Haaland off. Fotheringham died the wrong way, that wouldn't have mattered, but the woodwork was there, and it denies Erling Haaland.
Yeah, he sent Fotheringham the wrong way, so he had all the goal to aim at, but he's just slightly pulled it from his aim spot. He's hit the inside of the post and gone out. As you can hear, it's give the fans a big lift here at Bramall Lane.
Well, that was City's chance to quieten them down. They were already starting to get vocal with their side holding out against City. 37 minutes played, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0, but that has just turned the volume up that little bit extra now.
Yeah, you'd have put your mortgage on Erling Haaland scoring there, especially when he sent Fotheringham the wrong way, but he slightly pulled it. Didn't seem the greatest strike, and it struck the inside of the right hand post, and luckily for Sheffield United and unluckily for City, it stayed out.
But still, we are goalless. 8 minutes to half time on BBC Radio Manchester and anywhere in the UK on BBC Sounds. Will that now anger City and push them harder and better, faster, stronger, quicker to break Sheffield United down? Here's Kovacic on the left hand side, right on the halfway line. Hamer squares up against him. Rodri infield. Jack Grealish has made a run, but Rodri hasn't used that as an option. Alvarez back towards the Sheffield United penalty area, so goes into his own half, uses Nathan Ake. Diaz on the right of the centre circle rolls the ball across it and uses Joško Vardiol. Here is Grealish again, a little bit deeper than perhaps he would like to be. Kovacic can't feed the ball through to Erling Haaland and Sheffield United. A little bit of clever play, clever footwork from Sousa. Now it's sent forward towards Asula on the edge of the Manchester City penalty area. Diaz doing his defensive duties. Sousa, Oscar-worthy perhaps, the way he went down there. But referee was unmoved by it, and Manchester City have to play.
Yeah, you can just sense a little bit of belief inside Bramall Lane, can't you, since the penalty miss? The volume's gone up. The fans have got quite excited, and rightly so, because at nearly 39 minutes they ripped your arm off at been 0-0 against City. So yeah, so credit to Sheffield United. Obviously a big miss there from City, but United are holding on, and like I said before, if they can hold out to half time, get in there, get a breather, Paul Eckenbottom can get some messages across and see how they do second half.
Here's Rodri, right footed pass to the right hand side of the field and near to find Bernardo Silva, who gets to the corner of the penalty area. He pushes it back out of the box. Walker with a low bobbling ball into the penalty area, but again the Blades have done well, defended it well, read it well, and Larouci will try and set off down the left hand side. He won't get very far, I don't think. Sula's got in front of his man Ruben Diaz because he's come from an offside position. Diaz had his hand up to the linesman on the far side before the flag went up. He knew, and Manchester City will have a free kick inside their own half.
Yeah, there's a good big presence up there from Will Osula. I've seen him play quite a bit for their youth teams over the years. He's someone with a lot of promise. Obviously they lost Njai to Marseille a few weeks ago, which is very disappointing for him, so it'll be up to people like him and Jebison and Traoré to try and fill those big boots. Obviously losing Billy Sharp as well, bit of a cult favourite here, so yeah, it's going to be difficult for Sheffield United, but so far in this game they've done okay and they're hanging in there well.
Here's Nathan Ake. We are 5 minutes from half time on BBC Radio Manchester. Tweet your thoughts in at BBC RM Sport. Have your say as Haaland is challenged. He loses the ball, and now one over the top has seen Traoré release. He's got nobody with him. 3 back for City here. Vardiol will be first up. Traoré will dart towards the byline, try and get a cross in just over Osula, and then it's very calm and composed from Kyle Walker to head it back to Edison, who makes the catch. Another bright moment for the Blades.
It's a great ball out wide from, I think it was Ollie Norwood, and Traoré looks quite bright. He's dinked a lovely cross in there. Osula comes to the near post and ends up being really good defending by Kyle Walker, who chested it back to Edison, who's not had much to do this first half. But just another reminder that Sheffield United can be dangerous on the break.
Absolutely, and they really do want to use the pace that Traoré has. They have done already in this game. 4 minutes from half time, 0-0. Here's Rodri to Vardiol. Slipped as he passed that, Rodri, but it still came off for him. Here's Nathan Ake inside the centre circle, inside the Sheffield United half. Now Kovacic, Diaz, Kovacic again, step to the right hand side. The pressure comes from Osula. Diaz on the touchline. Walker challenged on his return pass back down the line. And Manchester City have a throw awarded by the linesman. I think some in Bramall Lane, I think myself included there, thought Sheffield United may have that one, but off Larucci last was the decision by the linesman, who's a lot closer to it than I am in fairness to him. As we edge closer and closer to half time, Manchester City have missed a penalty in this game. Erling Haaland hit the right hand post. Ake, bright orange boots, strapped to his feet, gets to the halfway line, uses Alvarez. City left to right in the closing stages of this first half. Grealish, Rodri bounces up in front of him, manages to get control, unleashes the shot low along the ground from 20 yards out, central position, but straight at Wes Foderingham, who makes a comfortable save.
Yeah, we've seen him pull the trigger from these positions quite a few times over the last couple of seasons. Didn't quite get all of it, and it ends up being straight down Wes Fotheringham's throat, which he'll be relieved about, because it sort of opened up for him a little bit there on his favoured right foot, and he was probably only 21-22 yards out, so disappointing effort in the end, although he hit the target.
Fotheringham with the save, his first season in the Premier League. Yet to keep a clean sheet this season, but so far he is in this game. 0-0. 2 minutes out from finding out how much added time we've got under these new rules that we're still getting used to. Ball over the top on the right hand side for Sheffield United has released George Baldock here. There are 5 red and white shirts ahead of him, most of them heading into the penalty area because they want the cross. Traoré just pokes it back, sells his teammate a little short there in Sousa, and Alvarez is able to get the challenge in.
Yeah, still no sign of Juan Marleo popping into the technical area yet. He's keeping quite a low profile here today.
He is. I think he knows as soon as he steps out the cameras will be on him, but for now, as Sheffield United want a free kick for Jack Grealish's push on George Baldock, who now gets to his feet and races across to Jack Grealish to have a little bit of retaliation. City have the ball, Ake.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long he puts up. There's only 90 seconds of normal time in this first half, and it has been pretty much all City. A couple of little situations from Sheffield United on the counter attack. Obviously the big moment in the first half is the missed penalty from Haaland, which no one expected, so Sheffield United live to fight another day for now.
Bernardo Silva just tried to bend one to Haaland on the outside of his boot, hasn't come off. 3-on-3 here for Sheffield United. Traoré has got to get past Ruben Diaz with the through ball, which he doesn't manage. The centre back of Manchester City able to deal with that. Here is Alvarez forward as City now look to stretch Sheffield United, who are out of position here. Here's Grealish into the penalty area on the left hand side, needs a little bit of support, turns out of the penalty area then back in it. Grealish on the byline, cross comes in and then bounces into Fotheringham's hands over Bernardo. I think Haaland's appealing for a penalty, saying that he was pushed over or pulled down in the box there, nothing given. Let's have a look at the replays, Nicky Weaver.
He's got
a chance.
He's got two hands around him. I think it's Robinson.
Yeah.
I can understand why. I don't think there's perhaps enough in it for a penalty. He didn't sort of drag him to down, but he did manhandle him. The fourth official's just about to put up the injury time at the end of the first half here, which is going to be 4 minutes. So another 4 minutes for City to try and get one.
4 minutes starts now, and Kyle Walker starts his run down the right hand side. Infield to Bernardo Silva, whose touch is heavy first time. His second one is back into the feet of Walker, who now finds Haaland. Haaland on the strength turn again. Manages to work it at Kovacic. Here's Rodri outside of the D. That's begging for Kyle Walker to hit it, but he chooses not to. Flicks it to his right. Bernardo Silva with the deep cross in. All players all tangle in the box. Haaland again with the appeals. Nothing given by the referee. Right melee inside the 6-yard box. It was a lovely stood up cross from Bernardo Silva. Sheffield United player remains down inside that 6-yard box. What was your take on that, Nicky Weaver?
Yeah, it was a ball in. I think his referee stopped it for a head injury, so I think Baldock there. Oh, it seems to be alright now. They've stopped it. Look, but yeah, it seemed to be coming together. 3 or 4 players. Ball goes out wide. It looked like Walker was going to shoot. He played it into Bernardo, who dinks one in there with his right foot, and I think it's 6-1.5 dozen of the other, to be fair. And 2 Sheffield United defenders and Haaland, they've both got hold of each other, I think. So it's a little bit of. It probably looks a lot worse than it was, and these 4 players end up in a heap.
I agree with that. Haaland certainly has a pull on Egan's shirt there, doesn't he, as well as Baldock. I think Baldock goes over the top of Haaland, which is hence the injury. The referee here has just stopped play after that treatment to Baldock. He's up, he's okay, and he's allowed to be back on the pitch as well pretty instantaneously. We've played nearly 2 minutes of the 4 that were added on. Tweet us at BBC RM Sport to have your say at half time. What can City do to find a route past Sheffield United, or is it very much more of the same? WhatsApp to 08000 321 333. Just start your message with the word Mank. Vardiol's header out to the left hand side. Perfect time to score now for City. Grealish comes in from the left, still on his right foot. The ball never goes too far away from that right boot, but now he sees it to the right. Kyle Walker, Bernardo Silva twisting and turning yet again up against Jack Robinson. Cross comes early from Ruben Diaz, won't find Haaland's header. Shot comes in from Alvarez, hits Egan, flies over the crossbar. Manchester City have another corner, this time on the near side, the right.
Yeah, it's a good ball in again. He keeps complaining to the referee, Haaland. They feel like they're sort of doubling up on him. He feel like he's getting manhandled, but he's giving as good as he's getting. But another corner, and this will probably be the last action of the first half.
Yeah, referee having a word with Erling Haaland and Anel Ahmedmodzic, the Sheffield United right-sided defender. In the meantime, Alvarez has placed the ball down on this near side, so out-swinging delivery is what you'd expect from the right boot. Still the referee having some words. That includes with Kyle Walker, the Manchester City captain. Big appeals from Kyle Walker actually towards Jared Gillett, protesting about something he's seen either just a moment ago or early in the game. Right, we're ready for the corner. In it goes from Alvarez at the near post. It's poor. It's behind again because the clearance is poor from Sheffield United, but that is not a corner to write home about for Julian
Not at all. There's quite a lot of pushing and shoving going on here in the box. Aki's getting involved. The referee's coming over. Haaland's getting involved. So yeah, Aki's not happy about something, but again, but it wasn't a great ball in from Alvarez. Obviously they're trying to work something at the near post, but I think at this late stage he needs just to get the ball in the mixer.
Yeah, so left arm half raised. That one is a better corner. Diaz challenges the header, but then so does Sousa, and Sheffield United come away from the penalty area. Now Asula up towards the halfway line on the far side touchline. Challenge comes in from a recovering Ruben Diaz, and it's brilliantly made. Here is Grealish. We've nearly had the 4 minutes of added time. Grealish is fouled, yellow card as well. Manchester City will end this half with a free kick.
Yeah, yellow card for Baldock. He's had a few little nibbles this afternoon, but that was one too many for the ref. Again, when Jack Grealish says, "Oh, it's quite a nasty challenge actually," so yeah, deserving of a yellow card, and another dangerous position, and this probably will be the last action of the first half.
So Manchester City with this free kick, it's midway inside Sheffield United's territory on the left hand side, so this one is going into the penalty area. It certainly may as well, with it now going past the 4 minutes of added time that we were shown. Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez over it yet again for Manchester City. Paul Heckingbottom rests his hand on his chin, watching on. Bernardo Silva is the one to jog over the ball this time. Alvarez sends it in. The backwards header from Sheffield United has hardly cleared it. Now there's a big boot behind it from Osula up towards the halfway line, and that is half time, and Sheffield United have probably got exactly what they wanted from that first half. A goalless draw so far. A little bit of luck with Erling Haaland missing a penalty. That will be the talking point. As you'd expect, it has been all Manchester City, all the possession. Edison has had nothing to do, but Sheffield United are keeping City at bay for now. At the break, it is Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0.
Thank you, Mike. Of course, Haaland's penalty hitting the post is a talking point, which we'll get to in just a moment. Before we do that, Nicky, at the halfway point, probably not a massive shock, but people would have expected City to have certainly created more chances, if not converted a few. What is it that Sheffield United are doing well enough to prevent that from happening for the Blues?
Yeah, I think they're defending really well. They're defending quite deep. They've sat in numbers. They've pretty much dealt with everything that City have had to throw at them. Wes Fothergill made one great save from Alvarez. Obviously the main talking point of the first half is the penalty miss that no one expected. So it gives Sheffield United, a chance, and they've held on well. They've defended corners well. They've been first to the ball. They've sort of been, trying to keep Haaland as quiet as they can when the ball's in the air and in dangerous positions. And Paul Heckingbottom will be absolutely delighted with how Sheffield United have defended in that first. From City's point of view, they've had the lion's share of possession, which we expected them to. Can they be a little bit more clinical in and around the edge of the box and a little bit more ruthless? But the game's certainly gone how we thought it would do in terms of possession, but not in terms of scoreline.
Again, we'll chat about Haaland in just a second. In terms of the way that City have lined up, in terms of the way they've approached this, is there anything that you think maybe they should have done differently, or is it just a matter of time, or in terms of where everyone's playing and who? Anything you'd change there?
Not particularly. It'd be interesting to see if he does make a change. I mean, Phil Foden would love to get on and get into them little pockets, and could he slip balls down the sides of the centre halves and what have you. Kovacic has done well. Bernardo Silva's looked threatening. Alvarez had some good situations. So yeah, listen, if Haaland converts the penalty and it's 1-0, everyone's saying City's done sort of okay, but as it is, it's 0-0. Sheffield United will be absolutely delighted with that. You got the sense they were really hanging on towards the end, so you would imagine if the longer it goes for Sheffield United, the more difficult it's going to get. Will they tire towards the end? But City have just got to be maybe a little bit more creative around the edge of the box, be a bit more ruthless and clinical with the passes in the final third.
I said, of course, that we'd mention that Haaland penalty, as Mike says it will be one of the major talking points at this point. Well, I want to share this tweet with you from a Sheffield United fan, actually, from Liz, who says, "Never a penalty, ludicrous. Sliding on the ground, how else is a player supposed to get balance but put their arm out? He's a yard away from it, he's not looking at the ball, there's nothing intentional about it."
No, I mean, I understand the point, but I think the rules are the rules, and I think it is a penalty. There's nothing he could do about it at all, but it is a penalty, and the Sheffield United fans will be relieved that Erling Haaland sort of missed it, which was a big shock for everybody. But yeah, you just feel that Sheffield United have got to keep it at 0-0 as long as they can, because once City get one, the floodgates could open. But Paul Heckingbottom will be absolutely delighted at half time to be 0-0.
In terms of just a quick one on that for fans watching who think it's harsh, and as you've said, it may well be harsh, but there again, it is the rules. I mean, we saw it last week in the World Cup final with Keira Walsh. It literally brushed like a couple of her fingertips. In this case, when a player is sliding and not stood upright, sliding along the floor with your arms behind your back is quite difficult. I guess you could argue it's dangerous for head injuries maybe, if you've not got that balance in hands to... I mean, what would you say to that? Not in terms of the rules, but just from a player's perspective, really. It is an awkward way, isn't it, if you're going to slide with no arms to support you?
You've got to sort of, it's almost like a stabiliser, isn't it? It's the same as going up for a header with, getting your arms out and what have you. But yeah, very difficult. He's gone into slide, he's cut the ball back, and his trailing arm that he's using there for stability. So there's no other way of really sort of sliding. It's just one of them unfortunate incidents from a Sheffield United point of view. I sort of do sympathise with him, because there's nothing he can do. He wasn't looking at the ball, but the rules are the rules, and with the rules they are at the minute, that is a penalty.
It's one of those that you're really annoyed if it's given against you, but you're screaming for it if it's in your favour, because you know it's in the rules regardless of whether it's fair or not. A couple more tweets, Nicky. One from Ben, who says, we are lacking in the middle. We need De Bruyne back or put Foden there. Which again goes back to that question earlier that I was asking, do you think they've set up in the right way? Is it just a matter of time, or is that what they're missing? Do they need Foden?
Listen, I think we'll see Foden, whether it's at half time, I'm not so sure. It might be around the 60-minute mark, but I think City, there's sort of not a lot they've done wrong. It's just they've got to be a little bit more clinical in and around that box. Obviously Sheffield United are sitting in, they're quite happy for City to have the ball sort of 30 and 40 yards out, but when they get in and around that box, they've got to be a little bit more creative, a bit more clinical and ruthless. But yeah, I don't think the setup's wrong. I just think that at some point we're going to see Phil Foden. I think that'll give the City fans a lift, who've been pretty quiet this half. So yeah, something needs to happen. They just need a little bit of injection of something and a little bit of creativity. And but all I would say is that all the players that are still on the pitch can create something out of nothing for City, and I do think it's only going to be a matter of time before they break the deadlock.
Yeah, they do tend to find a way, and of course as time goes on, concentration and fatigue can set in. Of course, there's all different factors. A final tweet here, Nicky, from Ian, who says, we're getting used to this now. Teams sitting deep, hoping to catch us on the break. Pep will always come up with solutions.
Exactly, and that's, we knew Sheffield United weren't going to be expansive in the play. They've tried to play out a couple of times, nearly got caught once. But yeah, Pep will have to come up with a solution, keep doing what they're doing, keep prodding, keep probing. As you mentioned before, the longer the game goes, the more tired the Sheffield United. There'll be lazy legs and lazy minds in there, mistakes will happen, and City will get chances. It's just a case of, can they take those chances?
Thank you, Nicky. Mike and Nicky will be back with you for the second half of your big match commentary from Bramall Lane, Sheffield United and Manchester City. Time for your second half now. Big match commentary from Bramall Lane. It's Sheffield United and Manchester City, and your commentary team of former City goalkeeper Nicky Weaver and Mike Mino.
Stacey, thank you. Yeah, players back out. No half-time substitutions. Just that one in the first half for Sheffield United, with Osborne going off injured, so Larouci replaced him. Fotheringham in goal for the Blades. Ahmed Hodzic, Egan and Robinson as their back three. Although really it's been a back five defensively for Sheffield United, with Baldock and now Larouci filling in there as we get underway in the second half. Norwood, Souza in the midfield, Hamer and Traore with Asula up front complete the Sheffield United team. For City, Edison in goal, Walker, Diaz, Vardiol and Ake. The back four, Bernardo Silva, Rodri and Kovacic in midfield. Alvarez, Grealish and Haaland up front. City now in those sky blue shirts, white shorts, sky blue socks, are right to left in this second half. Sheffield United in their red and white vertical striped shirts, thick striped shirts as well. Black shorts and black socks are from left to right. Ake on the halfway line for Manchester City. Now to Ruben Diaz out on the right hand side. We saw Michael Brown, the former Manchester City midfielder, at half time in the press room. Interestingly, Sheffield United's last win over Manchester City outside of the top flight was in January 2000 in the Championship. The goal that day for Sheffield United, scored by Michael Brown. The goalkeeper that day for Manchester City won Nicky Weaver.
Yeah, I remember it well. We just saw Brown here, a couple of months before, and there's plenty of ironies in football, and he popped up and he scored about a 20-yard volley. I remember it well.
Flew past you. Here's Sheffield United on the ball, but lose it pretty quickly. Story of the first half, that. Now, story of the second half as well, with Diaz on the ball for Manchester City. Burnley have started the second half quickly. Goal back for them against Aston Villa, so Burnley 1, Aston Villa 2. Bernardo Silva, Walker, Silva again, corner of the penalty area, left-footed cross, headed away by Robinson. And then Traore went to battle for it. The loose ball fell to Rodri, who probably tried a brownie. It didn't quite come off, and over the bar it goes.
Brownies weren't quite 40 yards out, that is for sure. I'm not sure, I can't remember him scoring from 40 yards on his left foot before, but worth an effort, I suppose. But yeah, City, you would expect the second half to carry on, as the first half did. Sheffield United looking to hit City on the counter-attack. City dominate possession, but they've just got to be a bit more clinical, a bit more ruthless, and a bit more creativity around the Sheffield United box.
Sheffield United in their last Premier League campaign set the record for the longest winless run at the start of the season. 17 games. It took them till January till they beat Newcastle United here at home. Newcastle's fortunes were a bit different then. They could, if they lose today, be 3 from 3 without a win. Sheffield United, City with a win could be 3 from 3, but in terms of wins at the start of the season, they'd be the only Premier League team to do that. Diaz is crossing the right hand side, goes there. No one in the sky blue shirt. The header back though comes to Rodri. Edge of the penalty area, he's done the same again over the bar and by some distance as well. Very un-Rodri. 3 minutes into the second half. Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, it fell to him there. It's a defensive header that fell to him. He's 18 yards out and he's just leaning back a little bit, but that's a glorious chance. You'd expect him to at least work West Frothingham there, and you could see how frustrated he was that he didn't hit the target. The effort before was a bit more of a speculative effort. That was a real chance.
He has to score, doesn't he, in that position, Rodri, or at least get it on target. Probably more fairly to him. 0-0. Sheffield United go long from the goal kick. Frothingham learnt from that in the first half when they tried to play out from the back, and City's high press caused their defence some issues. The sun's gone in, overcast now at Bramall Lane, and the wind's picked up again as well, which will delight both myself and Nicky Weaver, who failed really to prepare properly for Sheffield weather. You should know better, you live here.
No excuses for me.
It's Rodri on the left hand side for Manchester City. Walker, bright orange boots strapped to his feet, he sends in a early cross that is picked off by Sheffield United's Jack Robinson, and away out towards the far side. Here's Larouci, turns up against Walker, wants to play the 1-2 with Norwood and hasn't quite got it together. Alvarez now on the right hand touchline picks the ball up, wins a throw in for Manchester City on that far side. It's a quick one as well, but as Haaland charged to the far side of the penalty area, so did Egan, and out for another throw-in on the far side.
Interesting that I think it's Doku, Cole Palmer and Phil Foden warming up, so whether they might be 60 minutes seems to be a really popular mark for substitutions these days, so it'd be nice to get a look at Doku today and see what he's all about.
Well, he would be something different, wouldn't he? He'd be attacking down the right flank, you would imagine, with a lot of pace. Be interesting to see how quickly he can link up with his teammates. Here's Alvarez on the edge of the D. He chested it up. I thought he was setting himself for the volley. It didn't quite happen. Now Rodri, a couple of misplaced shots from him, flicks it to the right hand side. Walker low, Haaland's there. Oh, he's wide. Well, Fotheringham had already committed down to his right hand side. Haaland had sent it the other side of him, but also the other side of the post. 0-0.
Yeah, it's good play from City, good play from Rodri. Put it wide to Kyle Walker, who cuts it back for Haaland. 8 yards out, you'd expect him to. He's got to hit the target. I know it comes on his right hand side, it bounces in front of him, but he's got to score for me.
Has to. Best chance so far, apart from the penalty that he missed. He just cannot find the target here at Bramall Lane this afternoon. Erling Haaland. Burnley 1, Aston Villa 2, the other latest score in the Premier League today from 4:30. Newcastle against Liverpool, which is a really big test. Newcastle have had a couple of big early tests in the Premier League this season. Lost against City last time out, and now Liverpool at St James's Park today. We'll see how that one goes. Don't forget, you can have your say after the game here at Bramall Lane. Total Sports phone in 0800 218 2255. Nicky Weaver and Stacey Copeland will take your calls till about 20 to 5, and then a chance to hear our special We're Not Really Here podcast ahead of this game, but all surrounding Manchester Pride, which is this weekend. If you're celebrating, hope you've had a good time. And then from 5 o'clock we talk rugby league. Jack, Trevor and Stacey, your Sunday trio to talk all things rugby league, and there's plenty to discuss after the weekend's games. It is sent away by Sheffield United after a lot of play on the edge of the box by Manchester City. Ball has rebounded all the way into the City half, and Edison probably just fancied a touch, really. He's come midway inside his own half and he's starting to play off, and now there's a ball over top. Alvarez watches it go over his shoulder, tries to bring it down, he can't. It runs on through to Fotheringham.
Just 6 inches above his foot there. He tried to bring it down, difficult ball over his head, but I think City sometimes they've got to try and threaten him behind a little bit. When Sheffield United, when they are a little bit higher up, because whenever City get possession they're sitting so deep, when they are higher up, can they threaten him behind? As the cameras zoom in on Doku, so it'll be interesting to see if we see him, as we've just spoke about.
And also, first sighting we've got of Juan Marleo on the edge of the technical area. Walker right hand side wins a corner, good challenge comes in from Sheffield United, and their defender out on that far side, and Walker concedes the corner. He'll be happy with that, and Leo, after his 1 minute cameo on the touchline, is quickly retreating back to his dugout. So corner to City, far side the right. Alvarez on duty yet again for Manchester City. He's had a real mismatch of corners in this game. This one is short, he slips as he takes it. Bernardo Silva there, tries the reverse pass. Those two didn't read each other well, and over the byline the ball goes. It is a corner, a goal kick rather, to Sheffield United.
Yeah, just a waste again from City. Been quite frustrating. Obviously had a couple of great chances, but Sheffield United, you can sense the belief in the stadium. Be interesting to see if it'll be when City make this change, not if. Who it is, who comes off, and if there's any sort of change in the setup. But yes, it's just got to be a little bit more ruthless in around that box, and they've got plenty of the ball, but in and around that box Sheffield United have defended well, and City are going to have to take a chance soon.
Here's Rodri. To the right hand side of him is Ruben Diaz. Sheffield United have 5 in a line right across their penalty area. BBC Radio Manchester live from Bramall Lane for your Total Sport commentary this afternoon. Here is Grealish now on the left, trickling his way towards the penalty area, now just inside it, lays it back to Vardiol, who rolls the ball under his left boot, chooses not to cross it. Kovacic has got his back to goal, has to turn out towards the right hand side. Diaz, Walker on the right, he'll go with the cross with pace, it'll come to Kovacic on the deflection on the edge of the penalty area, and the clearance rather from Sheffield United. Kovacic controlled in his play, uses Vardiol. Here is Grealish into the box, wants it on his right foot, tries the low curling shot that he's blocked off. Now Rodri has it, out to the right hand side, Walker, cross comes in, downwards, oh no, he didn't connect with it at all. Alvarez, I think he actually put Grealish off and he was in a better position. Vardiol's won a corner. City all over it, Nicky Weaver, but haven't quite got that final product.
Not quite got the end product yet, but yeah, again, cross coming in from both sides. 2 or 3 City players in the box, just missing out on the header. Sheffield United defending well, but it's another corner. See if it's better than the last one that they managed to mess up.
10 minutes gone in the second half. Alvarez with a short corner. This time he doesn't slip. Kovacic returns it back to Alvarez. Block comes in, and it's not gone out of play for a corner nor a throw in on this near side. So Kovacic picks it up. He beat Larucci to the ball. Here's Bernardo Silva, 25 yards out or so. Out to the right hand touchline uses Kyle Walker. 0-0 between Sheffield United and Manchester City, a City side that have won their last 5 against the Blades. 1-0 the last time they were here. Vardiol and Grealish now not reading each other.
I think Guardiola would have been in if it had been on the same wavelength as Grealish, but yeah, just a little mix up there.
Strange, in the last couple of minutes that's happened a few times. There are new faces. Will be time to adapt to the City way, maybe. But for now, 0-0. What's Juan Marleo pass around there? I'm not sure if he just passed around a set of headphones so they can hear Pep Guardiola, or he's passed around the chewing gum, but either way, there is an assistant next to Juan Marleo, who has got headphones in and a phone in his hand, and that'll be Pep Guardiola. And here is Juan Marleo now on his technical area, waving City forward. They oblige. Kyle Walker on the right hand side, 11 second half minutes gone. Diaz has space to operate in, flicks it on through for Alvarez. Haaland wants to return it back to Alvarez, but Sheffield United get a little flick on the ball. It's about the only touch they've managed to have though, because City come again. Bernardo Silva 10 yards from the byline, 2 players around him, one of them Larucci. Here is Rodri. Diaz might go for it. And his shot looked on target, takes a deflection, carries it over the bar. It's another Manchester City corner. John Egan in the way on this occasion.
Yeah, let's hope they can make a better job of this corner than the last two. They've ended up not getting the ball in the box at all, so it's just all City now. Sheffield United can't get out of their own half, so it's going to be a long 35 minutes or so for Sheffield United if it stays like this.
It's definitely settling, isn't it, for Manchester City? 12 second half minutes gone. In goes the corner. Fotheringham with a double-fisted punch away. It clears the box for now, and within that, Sheffield United have won themselves a free kick for a foul in the box. Obstruction on the keeper, maybe, not sure. But the Blades fans sarcastically applauding the referee. They feel something's gone in their favour.
Yeah, they'll feel they've not had much go in their favour this afternoon. They'll feel hard done to by the penalty. They'll feel justice was done with Haaland missing it. So yeah, sarcastic cheer there. But I think at the minute Edison's on the ball for probably the first time this half, they'll be relieved just to get the ball away from their own goal.
Sheffield United have lost 9 of the last 10 against the reigning Premier League champions. Last beating Leeds in 1993, that long ago. Here's Grealish into the penalty on the left hand side, looking to stretch that record out. Rodri with a touch and a low shot. Little touch down to his left hand side. He then put everything behind with the laces of his left boot, but wide of the right hand post. And again by inches, Sheffield United survive another Manchester City attack. 0-0.
Yeah, it's good play from Grealish, sort of probing the defenders. Slips it into Rodri, who takes a lovely touch with his right foot, puts it onto his left foot, and we're right in line with it, Mike. And it was always the wrong side of the post. But a good effort.
It looked to be nestling into the bottom right hand corner. Nicky Weaver's right. We were right behind it. Sheffield United have the ball. Asula, good chest control from here, and then Vardiol. Well, looked like he pulled him down, but the referee's given Manchester City a free kick, and well, that's got the Blade fans on their feet, gesticulating to the referee. They're not happy. Vardiol has gone down injured, and Paul Heckingbottom just waves his arms around and just says nonsense to the fourth official.
Yeah, it looked. I think it must have just caught him in the face before. It looked for all intents and purposes. I think there's a flailing arm just caught. Has he just caught him in the face there?
I think, yeah, as Osula's challenged, he has caught Vardiol in the face unintentionally. Yeah. But the majority of the foul, and Osula's managed to get himself a yellow card too. The majority of the foul is on Vardiol, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the Sheffield United fans would agree, because they're not happy with the referee at all this afternoon.
Certainly not. Osula, the second man in the book as well then, alongside George Baldock. Here is Walker on the ball. Not going to be able to go forward. Villa have got a third now, so Burnley 1, Aston Villa 3 at Turf Moor. Another 3 goals shipped at home for the Clarets after City did so on the opening day. Grealish on the left. 1 past the Blades would be nice for Manchester City at the moment. 0-0 on the hour mark. Diaby with the goal, by the way, for Aston Villa. Here is Kovacic through to Haaland. This is the chance, and Fotheringham with a brilliant save. Haaland wanted it to lift it over the Sheffield United goalkeeper, but he palms it away and behind for a corner.
Yeah, it's a terrific ball, slipped through from Kovacic, and he's dinked it, and I tell you what, it's a great left hand from Wes Fotheringham. He sort of commits himself to narrow the angle. Haaland must think he scored. There just weren't enough pace on the dink, but it's a fantastic save. We all thought it was in, and he just sort of clawed it out of nowhere.
Yeah, good save from Fotheringham. In goes the corner, near post. Oh, bounces inside the 6-yard box. Nobody got a touch on that from Julian Alvarez's corner. There's a glitch in the matrix. Traore slipped on the byline. The ball then hit the corner flag, then hit Traore and didn't go out of play at all. Here is Grealish inside the left-hand side at the penalty area. Back heels it to Alvarez, who smashes it near post, and Fotheringham is there again.
Yeah, he's starting to get a lot more to do now, Fotheringham. He made a great save a minute ago, and he's just made a good one there from Alvarez. So yeah, City really ramping it up now.
Here's Rodri for Manchester City. 0-0. Kovacic lets it run on through for Kyle Walker. Scored a screamer on this ground 3 years ago, and very nearly did the same again, but that one just lifts over the bar. Fotheringham knew that all the way, and still Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 0.
I'm not sure how, because they had a couple of great chances there. Haaland, on another day could have had 3, couldn't he? It was a great chance for him. Again, Alvarez had a chance as well. Great play from Grealish again, who's getting more and more over the ball. Left-footed shot from Alvarez, and a really good save down to his right-hand side from Fotheringham. And he's made 2 or 3 good saves in the last 5 minutes that are keeping Sheffield United in the game.
Well, it certainly is. 17 minutes into this second half. Ball in Manchester City's half for now. Blues are right to left in this second 45 minutes. Here is Walker. There are men in front of him. He just lays it to the left-hand side, though, for Rodri. Now Kovacic, who just put Haaland through for that big chance a few moments ago. Grealish just creeps his way into the penalty area. No challenge comes in from Baldock. He stands in at back post. Haaland is there, and this time he scores. Manchester City have had to wait 62 minutes and sheer bombardment at the Sheffield United penalty area, but just past the hour mark, it's a Haaland header at the back post that puts them in front, and it's Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1.
Yeah, terrific play from Grealish, takes it to the bar line, dinks it up with his left foot over Fotheringham, and it's a back post header from Haaland. He's missed a couple this afternoon, but he was never going to miss that one. Terrific play from Grealish in the build-up. We were just speaking about him before. I was getting more and more involved in the game. He was sort of teasing the defenders. Was he going to go on his right foot, but he takes it on his left, stands a lovely ball up. Haaland pulls away to the back post. Grealish stands a lovely ball up, and it ends up being a simple header.
And the City fans behind that goal celebrating as Haaland just strutted around in front of them. That's what he does. That is goal number 39 for Erling Haaland in the Premier League. His 3rd of this season. And there's an injury here, it looks like, to Wes Fotheringham. Just seeing what
I think this might be the old nudge, wink, one. Sometimes when you change the formation, the goalkeeper goes down. Paul Eckenbottom has got the player straight in, so there'll be. I don't think there'll be anything wrong with him here.
He's receiving treatment. The substitute goalkeeper is warming up as well for the Blades. As Fotheringham has his legs stretched by the physio, whether it's how he landed whilst chasing across his own goal for the Haaland header. Simple, nodded down header from 2 yards at the back post.
He'll be quite a relieved man, I think, Erling Haaland, because he's missed a few chances, for his standards. On a different day he could have had 3 or 4, but a great header at that. It was brilliant play from Jack Grealish. Stood it up lovely, and it ended up being a simple header. He pulled off to the back post. It's for me now. It's Sheffield United have really got to try and stay in the game and keep it at 1. But for City, they'll smell blood now and they'll want more.
Now, I assume for City nothing changes. What changes now for Sheffield United, or is it keep it 1-0 and maybe in the last 5 or 10 go and chase that equaliser?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of time left in this game. I think if they can keep it as it is for as long as they can, they won't be too disappointed with this, because when you play Man City, the game can get away from you in a 5 or 10 minute period. They've just got to, sit in, try and soak up some more pressure. Can they hit City on the counter, and then when 10 minutes to go, then they can start making changes. Then they can go a little bit more gung-ho and start committing men forward.
Possibly in this game the first time that Sheffield United's defenders have really lost Haaland and his positioning, and Jack Robinson, despite his best efforts of stretching, was never going to get to that header before Erling Haaland. Sheffield United now come forward. They get close to the byline inside Manchester City's half, away to our right hand side, the end of the Kop here at Bramall Lane, who haven't seen much action in this second half when Sheffield United have been attacking. Here is Kovacic, thought about playing a lovely ball over the top, but thought better of it for Haaland or Alvarez. So 1-0 to Manchester City. 65 minutes on the clock. Here's Kovacic. Infield to Rodri. Rodri will just take a few steadying touches and lays it back 10 yards or so to Joško Vardiol. Ake inside the centre circle. Diaz available to his right hand side, and further over is Kyle Walker, who just retreats into the City half, plays a 1-2 in Rodri, and it's all back in the Sheffield United half once again. City, who have won 12 of their last 13 games against promoted opposition in the Premier League, dropping points in a 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest at the City ground last February. The only little blip in that record. Long ball over the top to the right hand side. Walker should keep that in play, but then as he pats it down into the 6-yard box, Fotheringham is there.
Yeah, good ball over the top from Rodri, I think it was, who put Walker in, which they've combined a few times those two this afternoon, and it just skidded off the turf and he couldn't quite get his foot round it to get it into Haaland. But the City fans now are, a bit louder than they have been all afternoon. I think they've been a bit frustrated, as of the players. But yeah, now they've got that goal. You can sense a little bit of a deflation in the Sheffield United fans. They were quite boisterous before, but I think they know the writing's on the wall now.
Patience, definitely the name of the game for City this afternoon, but they have got the breakthrough with Erling Haaland 5 minutes ago since that goal. There's Diaz to Walker, and Diaz again, just on the halfway line. Sheffield United happy to let Manchester City have the ball there, not really pressing or threatening, and the formation still it's 5-4-1 now, isn't it? It looks like, from Sheffield United, as it has been 5-3-2 for large parts of this game. Here's Grealish, Vardiol, Ake, Manchester City strolling around. Diaz inside the centre circle. Manchester City's at number 3 now in his 4th season with the club, and the previous 3 haven't gone too badly so far. He's only played in the Community Shield so far this season, Ruben Diaz, so first chance for him is Grealish. Diaz just outside the centre circle, and again back into it. Okay, I mean, City have this at their own.
Yeah, it's almost like a practice match, isn't it? Sheffield United don't really want to come out of their slots. City are just sort of rolling the ball around sort of 10 yards inside their own half, and they're not in a rush. Sheffield United don't seem to have any urgency at the moment. I think they just want the game to settle down a little bit. But yeah, so it's just it's pretty boring at the moment.
There you go, that's the sell from Nicky Weaver for you to keep listening. Fotheringham, lovely piece of skill just to dummy it past Julian Alvarez, who was applying the press on this occasion. 1-0 to Manchester City. Here's Kovacic as the Blues look to extend their lead and extend the lead at the top of the Premier League as well. They'll have a 2-point cushion as the only side to have won all 3 games so far this season. Spurs have 7, Arsenal 2. Surprising result yesterday for Arsenal, drawing 2-2 at home to 10-man Fulham. Sheffield United are going to make a couple of changes here. Jayden Bogle's preparing to come on, as is Ollie McBurney as well. Here's Bernardo Silva in from the right hand side. Bernardo Silva's got space to shoot here. Twist back to his left hand side and towards the byline, and overran it yet again. Had an option for a shot there, I think. Chose not to take it.
Yeah, he's been a little bit quiet this second half, Bernardo. Jack Grealish has seemed to have more of the ball, but he chopped and turned and twisted there and just sort of lost the ball at the crucial point where he thought he was just about to pull the trigger. Looks like Sheffield United are going to make a double substitution here.
Bogle and McBurney ready to come on. Attacking from Paul Heckingbottom, in fairness, with those substitutions, so it'll be interesting to see if it is like to like or if he's got something else on his mind. Alvarez feeds it through for Haaland. He's in again here, Erling Haaland.
He's offside.
And the flag goes up instantly. It did look that way. The finish was nice. He had to play on. Tucks it into the left-hand side at the near post of the goalkeeper. But he'll be denied that second goal, and so will Manchester City. Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1.
I don't know why they can't. When it's so obvious he's offside, I don't know why they can't raise the flag there.
So George Baldock, who was on a yellow card, replaced by Jayden Bogle, and Will Ashulet, who's had a difficult task this afternoon. He's up front on his own. The support has been minimal, and he's replaced by Ollie McBurney.
Yeah, it's been difficult for Asula. He's put himself about a bit. He's not had great support. He's not had great service into him. He's got physical lads around him as well, so it's very difficult to play against this City back four. So yeah, it's not saying he'll be pleased to get off, but he'll enjoy his drink of water on the bench, I think. And it'll be interesting to see Ollie McBurney puts himself around a little bit, and they'll be looking for him for a bit of inspiration now.
Joshua Vardiol standing very close to Ollie McBurney and happy to let him win that header as well. Here is Traore. McBurney, right hand corner of the penalty area, will be forced out towards the corner flag, and his little flick ball inside hits Rodri. Now Grealish can carry it forward. Surely trips as he cuts in field. Yeah, free kick. And he stayed down here, Grealish, and he's waving with his arm in the air, in some pain down there. I think he wants to attract the attention of the physios. He felt that one.
Yeah, it might have been a knee into his thigh there. He's brilliant at drawing the foul, Jack Grealish. He had sort of nowhere to go. He's got two Sheffield United players on him. He just knocks the ball, and although I think he was trying to draw the foul. I think he was the most foul player in the Premier League last year, I think, if that's right.
He's had that record for about 2 or 3 years now, Jack Grealish.
Just the way he plays, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he does look genuinely hurt. It's sort of interesting to see if we do see a Doku or a Foden.
Manchester City and injuries are going hand in hand this season a little bit. Kevin De Bruyne out for 4 months. John Stones won't be back until the international break. He's got a muscle injury. They've only just welcomed Ruben Diaz back. And where they are perhaps looking for reinforcements is out on the wings, and they're doing that because they don't feel they have enough already in that part of the field. So to lose Grealish would be a big blow. He is up, he's walking okay, and he'll just stand on the sidelines for a moment, having a chat with the fourth official David Coote down there as well. So Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1, with 17 minutes left of the 90.
I think the new rule is you can't go back on now for 30 seconds.
Is that right?
Yeah, because if you look, he'd normally be itching to go on, wouldn't he?
Larucci down the wing, Kyle Walker slides in on that far side.
So the fourth official won't let him back on yet. He's got to wait for 30 seconds now.
Which probably makes sense. It was an old stupid thing, wasn't it? They'd go off and then they'd be back on within a second. Obviously benefits the team, but seems a bit pointless going off if you're just going to make them do that. Anyway, Sheffield United here have a throw in on the far side, level with the corner of the penalty area. Grealish is now allowed to return to the field, and this throw in is going into the box. The cop stands on its feet. Edison makes the call, he punches down into the ground, shot comes in from distance and absolutely belts Ruben Diaz, but he's thrown his body on the line. He makes the block and stops Sheffield United finding an unlikely equaliser. Danger not gone yet. Long range shot will drift well wide. Ambitious maybe, worth the effort from Anel Ahmed Hodzic, but still can't find a way through for Sheffield United. What a block from Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, a couple of hairy moments there. It comes a long way, does Edison, gets a half a punch on it, and it comes out to Hamer, I think, and Ruben Diaz throws his body on the line. He's got his arms behind his back. Fantastic defending. And then there was a poor clearance again from Edison. So a couple of hairy moments for Edison, and probably Sheffield United's best 2 efforts on goal, really. So just shows that at 1-0 it's not all over.
Certainly not, and that might give Sheffield United a little bit of hope. 1-0 to Manchester City. Edison short from inside his own penalty area, despite the pressure on Rodri from Traore. That's where he went with the ball. Return back to Edison, who now goes out to the right hand side for Diaz. Back once more to the Manchester City goalkeeper. City at the moment keeping a clean sheet. They haven't kept a clean sheet in their first 3 Premier League games of a season since 2015 under Manuel Pellegrini. Never done it under Pep Guardiola. Not many records that are perhaps negative about the Manchester City boss, but that's one of them. They can keep 3 successive clean sheets, not only at the start of the season, but for the first time in the Premier League as a Manchester City side since December 2021 as well. Alvarez from distance, edge of the penalty area. Ball skips along the turf and well wide of the left-hand post. 15 minutes left in this game. Manchester City leading. Sheffield United, though, with a warning sign. Their danger is if they go too far forward.
Absolutely, but you just like that second goal, wouldn't you, just to sort of calm the nerves a little bit, because whenever it's 1-0 as it was last week, there's always, you've always got a fighter's chance. They've made a couple of positive substitutions, Sheffield United, so they've got a corner now, so City, you've got to make sure they defend this right and don't give Sheffield United a sniff.
Given that reaction, I'll just confirm it is a corner, not a goal. They were straight on their feet, all the Sheffield United fans. Ake slid in, ball goes over the byline.
This is the situations that they want, though. It's going to be very difficult for them to open City up, but if they can score from a set piece, that's they'll work on them hard in training. One thing I would say is City's got a very, very big team, so it's going to be difficult to get the first contact.
Norwood, out-swinging delivery from the right-hand side. Header is there, just wide from Ollie McBurney, who charged in to the front of the pack, 10 yards out, but sends it wide of the right-hand post.
Yeah, he's pulled off Ollie, but it's a really difficult header because he's probably in line with the penalty spot, but also in line with the front post as well, and it's slightly behind him, and he couldn't quite get enough direction on it. But it just shows you, City have got to be careful here. As you said, it sounded like Sheffield United had scored then, and they only got a corner, so the fans are still up for it. And City have just got to be careful here, and it would be nice to get that all-important second goal.
A couple of warning signs in the last couple of minutes for Manchester City on BBC Radio Manchester. Lovely play by Edison to Alvarez just outside the centre circle. He turns it round for Bernardo Silva, who is now on the charge down the middle of the pitch, and he's pulled over. Instant yellow card, and rightly so, I think, too, for Vinny Souza. As Bernardo sets off again, like the first half, we saw it several times. The only way you're going to stop City in a run like that is to pull them down.
Tactical, fantastic play. Edison at the ball, clips it out to Alvarez, he's turned it round the corner first time into Silva, and the next minute he's getting a foul on the edge of their box. So yeah, really dangerous from here. Interesting to see who fancies this one. I think Alvarez he's placed the ball, so I think he fancies it.
He has been the set piece man today. This to give Manchester City a little bit of breathing space. Chris Basham preparing to come on for Sheffield United.
Look at, there's a little pep talk here going from Ruben Diaz, I think, Bernardo, Jack Grealish, Alvarez. I don't know if they're going to try and work something from this free kick, but they're definitely trying to talk about something.
Yeah, what have they done in training here? What can they practice? It's pretty central, ever so slightly to the left. It is 25 yards from goal, most definitely within shooting range. There is a huge Sheffield United wall with a couple of City players intercepting that wall. You imagine they'll break away.
Imagine West Fotheringham's got a good view of this because there's so many men in between. Oh, there's a little view now, perhaps. Diaz has gone and stood there.
A little window. City are going to move out the way here as Alvarez goes for goal, and Fotheringham parries round the post. It's a corner.
Yeah, you could just see Diaz then. He just dragged a couple over with him to try and block West Fotheringham's view. It's a decent free kick, but it didn't really get enough pace on, and it's not in the corner, and it ends up being a pretty comfortable save for West Fotheringham.
Yeah, good palms away from the goal to the left-hand side as we look at it. So corner to City. Jack Grealish on this one. Alvarez stands on the edge of the D with Bernardo Silva. This one goes towards the 6-yard box. Header away by McBurney. He's at both ends doing his heading duties. As Kovacic flicks it up, Grealish will try and get the turn on Larouci. Will he get the cross in? No, he needs support out there. He's got two Sheffield United players around him. Tries to play it off one of them to win the corner. Somehow squeezes it through to Joshko Vardiol, who goes down. And Sheffield United struggling to clear it at the minute with Ollie Norwood. They do to the halfway line eventually. Vardiol is back on his feet after going down momentarily. Throw into the Blades on this near side, they're right. Is this the time that we see the former Bolton and Rochdale man in Chris Basham? It is, and he's going to replace Ollie Norwood as well.
Yeah, Basham has been at Sheffield United for years now. He's had a few promotions with them, bit of a fan's favourite. He'll try and get the ball, carry it a bit further. He'll probably be a bit higher than Norwood was. So yeah, again, Sheffield United, they've got just over 10 minutes to try and rescue something out of this game.
Basham now 35 years old, joined the club in 2014. His 388th Sheffield United appearance in all competitions now. 10 minutes left of this game on BBC Radio Manchester, and it's Manchester City that lead by a goal to nil. Continuing their perfect start to the season. Here's Hamer. And towards the left-hand side, Robinson. Larouci. In towards Traore. A run had been made there by Hamer. Traore tries not to go for it. He's been fouled. He's won a free kick. Sheffield United fans are happy with that again. I can imagine the Sheffield phone in afterwards is going to be very much based around the referee, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at obviously from blue tinted glasses, aren't we? And it's been sort of okay from our point of view, but yeah, the Sheffield United fans will not be happy with the referee, and they've let him know that.
That said, there was some talk in the press room at half time that maybe Manchester City should have had a couple of more penalties given to them in the first half. So Jared Gillett, not everybody's cup of tea today. Here are the Blades on the right hand side with Ahmed Hodzic, Larouci. Oh, easily guides his way past Bernardo Silva, gets himself forward on the left hand side. The run is made by Traore, and he's got the pace to go around Kyle Walker, who brings him down, and Gillett is unmoved again. The referee says no. had a decision to make, might have just been outside the box. But either way, it seemed a little risky from Kyle Walker.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough in it for me. Traore gets the run on him. It's a good ball in from Lamucci. He has a good touch, gets the run in, puts his arm across, but I don't think there's enough there. It's pitched to be the softest penalty I've ever seen, I think.
It's outside the box as well, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
He goes down.
He did get the run on him, though. It was a dangerous situation. And here comes the long throw into the box.
Which is towards the 6-yard box. It's taken on the chest of Vinny Souza. Cleared away by Manchester City. It is another throw in to the Blades. So reset inside the penalty area, because there's only one place that this is going, or not, as it goes back towards the halfway line. 8 minutes left. Manchester City leading 1-0. Now Sheffield United, no, they've gone through 82 minutes. Will they start to apply a little bit more pressure? And Bramall Lane will certainly help with that. A second City goal could really finish it off, and they're going to try and get it. Haaland's going down the middle. Can Grealish find him? No. Nicked in the back. He goes down. It's a foul and a free kick. Ahmed Hodzic is not impressed. Egan goes into the book for the foul, and Manchester City have a free kick.
Yeah, it looks as though Grealish could have just got the ball through there for Haaland, who made a great run. I don't think there'd have been any stopping him, so there's no reason for Grealish to go down. And I think he just gets a little, he just drags him down. And again, I think Grealish is looking for it, so might be a little bit of an unfortunate yellow card, but is the master at it, Jack Grealish.
The fourth Sheffield United player to go into the book, the second one to go in the book following a foul on Jack Grealish. Here's Ake back to his own goalkeeper in Edison. The sun back out at Bramall Lane, shining on the pitch. Little strip on this near side, running the full length of the pitch in shade, and the entire of West Fotheringham's box in shade as well, but the rest of the pitch bathed in the warm sunshine of South Yorkshire. 6.5 minutes left to go. 1-0 to City. Haaland, told you there's just not many goals in this fixture. 11 goals in the previous 10 games in the Premier League. Here is Grealish forward for Manchester City from the left-hand corner of the penalty. Just lays it back for Kovacic on the edge of the D. Low shot. And Fotheringham dives down to his left-hand side, makes the save. Might have seen that late. It's a good save from the Sheffield United goalkeeper.
Yeah, decent save. Didn't really get hold of the shot. Kovacic was just sort of slipping, I think, as he hits it. Not really too much. It looks like Man City might be making a sub here as the card goes into the fourth official.
Interesting to see who emerges from that dugout, tripped off and ready to come on. Here is Traore on the left-hand side. Is he going to give Walker more nightmares? Not that time. Oh, Walker's back-heeled it and given it to Traore, who lays it into the middle for Basham. Might come to this near side. Here is Bogle! Sheffield United have played their game and they've got their rewards. Bogle in space on the right-hand side, fires it into the bottom left-hand corner, and Sheffield United are level against the champions, and they've got their goal. It's a big goal and a big team celebration on this near side. Sheffield United 1, Manchester City 1.
Yeah, I don't know what Kyle Walker's doing over the far side of the area. He's tried to backheel the ball. It's gone straight to Traore. It ends up, I don't know what he's doing, Kyle Walker. He's fully in control of it. He can kick it out for a throw, and he's tried to backheel it to Bernardo Silva. The ball gets broken out to Jayden Bogle, who's had a touch, but it's a thunderous shot. I think McBurney, I think this one could be disallowed. I think McBurney's in Edison's way, yeah.
So yeah, it's all to do with interference of play here, isn't it? Bogle's shot drilled through past Vardiol, past Ake. Now does McBurney obstruct Edison? I think the ball's past him, isn't it? I think this will stand.
Yeah, it looks like it's been given. So it'd have been even less popular than it already was, but Phil Foden's on now. So City need a real spark into life now. They're going to have 4 minutes plus injury time to try and salvage a win out of this game. We always said they needed that second goal. They didn't get it. They've been wasteful in front of goal. Let's hope it doesn't cost them.
Kovacic replaced by Phil Foden then. Feeling a little bit ill, he travelled to the game on his own, but now the best medicine would be to help Manchester City to win, and Walker wants to make amends. Here he's Foden in the penalty area, lays it off, shot goes over the bar from Julian Alvarez. Right-footed, the perfect layoff. It was the perfect play down the right from City, but Alvarez digs under it and over the bar, and it's still 1-1.
Yeah, great play from Kyle Walker down the right hand side, jinks in between a couple of defenders, gives it to Foden, who jinks past someone, and it was just a little bit awkward for Alvarez. He couldn't quite get his foot round it, and a little bit of lean back and he's put it over. But Bramall Lane's really rocking now, but they've probably got a good 10 or 12 minutes to go yet, so plenty of time for City.
1-1. Third Premier League game of the season. No one in the Premier League has a 100% record after 3 games. Arsenal and Spurs with 7. Brighton slipped up yesterday, losing at home to West Ham. City stalling here at the Lane, 1-1.
Just shows you when you're wasteful marking in front of goal like they have been. You think you're going to be okay, but all it takes is one strike or a deflected shot or a set piece. And let's hope it doesn't cost City, because ultimately they'll shot themselves in the foot.
Foden's won the ball back, gives it to Alvarez. He wants to put in Haaland, but Sheffield United have managed to get a little nick on the ball to take it away from the Norwegian. Here's Grealish on the left-hand side, picking up that loose ball. Into the penalty area he goes. Back to Foden, who's got his back to goal and has to lay it out to this near side touchline for Bernardo Silva. Cross comes in, Haaland attacks and misses by fractions. If there was any connection, that's in. Walker's won it back on the touchline on the far side. Now he puts a low ball into Foden. Rodri! Oh! Thunderous hit! First time hit! And City are back in front. The ball nearly rips the net off. And Manchester City, with 2 minutes left in this second half, might just have won it. Sheffield United 1, Manchester City 2.
Yeah, and the City fans are really enjoying that. He's had a couple of efforts this afternoon, Rodri, but he's absolutely lashed that into the top corner of the goal. And you say since Sheffield United have scored, they've had a couple of good chances, City. Sheffield United all over the place at the back. Walker's been really good down that right hand side. Foden's had some nice intricate touches around the edge of the box. But it's a ball in. Haaland looks like he's going to get on the end of it. Kyle Walker retrieves it. Lamuccia should do better here. He's tried to guide it out. Walker cuts back into Foden, has a bit of a dodgy touch, and it'll go down as an assist for Foden perhaps, but he has a bit of a bad touch and it falls to Rodri, and he's absolutely lashed it into the, I don't think 4 goalkeepers would have stopped that. It's gone right in the top corner.
Away from home this season, Manchester City have only had 2 scorers so far, Erling Haaland and Rodri against Burnley. It's Erling Haaland and Rodri against Sheffield United. What a hit, flew into the top left-hand corner. He had a couple of dodgy shots at the start of the second half, Rodri. That one makes them end, and the same for Kyle Walker too, who you could hold responsible for the Sheffield United goal. McBurney though is going to chip it in, and how has Sheffield United not equalised there? Who was diving in? I think it's Ahmed Hodzic diving in, stretching at the back post. McBurney set it up beautifully on the right hand side, space for him, hung the cross up, past Ruben Diaz at the back post.
I don't know why he didn't go with his head. Maybe it's a bit far in front of him, but yeah, it's a great chance. And do you know what? It's been more entertaining than probably the last 10 minutes than it has for the first 80.
It's come alive. Ahmed Hodzic, you're right, kind of karate kicked it in the end, didn't he? 7 minutes. That might give Sheffield United some hope. City will want daylight between themselves and the Blades. Ball over the top. Oh, the defence has missed that. Here's Haaland in the penalty area. Oh, he wants the back. What's with all the back heels today? Because Haaland's now tried one and Foden can't get on the end of it, and Sheffield United are able to see it up to the halfway line. Here's Diaz, knocks it down for Rodri. Grealish, loose ball, falls to the England international. Manchester City leading this one 2-1. Sheffield United thought they got a crucial point. Manchester City heading for 3 wins and 3 at the start of the season. Here's Walker, Diaz. Back to Walker again in space. City probably want to calm this down a little bit.
Yeah, they just need to get some passes in, spread the pitch. But Kyle Walker again, a loose pass, nearly got cut out. They've been their own worst enemy, really. They've missed chances. Obviously, Kyle Walker made the mistake for the goal. So yeah, they've just invited a little bit of pressure on. And you've got to finish these sort of games off, because, you know, if you keep doing it throughout the season, there'll be times, here we are again, look.
Diaz with a misplaced pass. Here's Larouci, responsible for City's second goal. Wants to try and get Sheffield United level with the left-footed shot that he digs under, a bit like Alvarez 5 minutes ago or so, and over the bar and into the cop.
Yeah, they've been really sloppy, City. Diaz there, pretty much comfortable possession, plays it straight out to Larouci, plays a 1-2. And he should do better, Larouci there. He snatched at the shot, probably saw the headlines tomorrow in the papers. But yeah, Sheffield United have had the chances even after City's second goal. And there's still another 5 minutes left.
And we are well above average goals in this fixture with 3 today. A fourth would be really abnormal. Edison with the goal kick, nothing fancy from him. He's going long, he's absolutely pelted that, nearly to the edge of the D inside the Sheffield United half. Grealish, he's fouled, free kick, left hand side of the field.
Yeah, again, City just need to settle this down a little bit. It's got a little bit, it's a game that they should be in total control of, and it's just got a little bit frantic. So they've got to try and take the sting out of the game. Sheffield United are going to go all out guns blazing this next 4 or 5 minutes, and so they've just got to, you know, they've been in this situation so many times, and they've got, Pep will be absolutely, you know, he'll be jumping out of his bed, I think, his hospital bed. But yeah, just been so sloppy and so careless at the back.
0800 218 2255. The phone lines are open on Total Sport to have your say with Nicky Weaver. It's about 4:30 this afternoon, 20 to 5. Then a chance to hear our latest We're Not Really Here podcast, the Manchester Pride special. But the number you need is 0800 218 2255. Stacey will be joined by Jack and Trevor after 5 for your rugby league chat as well, your traditional hour of rugby league talk on the way. Same phone number if you want to get involved with that as well, 0800 218 2255. Foden shot from the right of the penalty area deflects, and Manchester City have a corner on this near side, the left.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any rush to take this. He's looked really bright since he come on. Phil Foden, he's got the ball in some dangerous areas. You know, obviously, as you said, he's been ill overnight, so he came here separately. But yeah, he's come on. He's looked really bright, and I think City now will just take the time with his corner. It's not often you see City trying to run the clock down like this at somewhere like Sheffield United, but needs must. And at the end of the day, the performance has been sort of okay. They've just been a little bit wasteful in front of goal, not been great in their own box. And what you would imagine to be a comfortable afternoon has turned out anything but. But ultimately, in the end, if they end up with the 3 points, that's the main thing.
3 points on the way, 3 minutes left of added time at the end of this second half. City toying with Sheffield United in the corner down towards our left-hand side, City's near side. Eventually Sheffield United are able to clear it. Traore, little push on Nathan Ake. Yeah, free kick given. And the Blades fans won't like that, Traore won't like that, but it was a push. Ake down on the floor, he's up now. It has finished at Turf Moor. Burnley 1, Aston Villa 3, so life in the Premier League a little difficult for the Clarets so far. 2 games for them, 2 defeats, conceding 3 in both of those games as well. Rain started to set in at Bramall Lane as well, a little bit of drizzle with the wind swirling round. Drizzle whips around on the pitch. Rodri, 2 minutes left, Manchester City 2-1 up. Oh, Foden, so creative since he's come on, sets Walker on the right hand side, low ball into the box, hits Foden, he'll keep it in on the byline as well. The cross is deep, and Jack Grealish will bring the ball down just outside the left of the penalty area. Guardiola in support, but it's infield where Grealish goes to use Bernardo Silva. Foden on the turn, Foden with the skill, Alvarez tries to help him out a little bit as the ball ran away from him. Sheffield United win it back. Bogle, their goal scorer, helps to start them off. They've piled the ball forward. Bardiol reads it well. Game a little stretched here. The field certainly a little bit stretched, and City with the control could have probably, at a different point in the game, would have pressed Sheffield United a lot more there and really worried their defence. They don't have to. They lead 2-1. Here's Bernardo Silva. That's Nicky Weaver for his player of the match in just a moment. Diaz out on the right hand side. Here is Phil Foden, man of the match against Newcastle United. He's only had a cameo here, but he's been so noticeable since he came on. Manchester City led through Haaland. Bogle equalised for Sheffield United late on, but a couple of minutes after that, Rodri was there to fire City back in front into the final minute of the game. Then City inside their own half, just on the edge of the centre circle, with Ruben Diaz, who gets player of the match for you, Nicky Weaver, today.
A difficult one, really, because it's not been a vintage City performance, but I think Jack Grealish has come into the game second half. He set the first goal up with a bit of great wing play and a bit of trickery, so I'll give it to Jack Grealish, although it's not been a vintage City performance by all means. One or two disappointing performances out there, really, and it's been a disappointing performance, but ultimately it's a game that they should have comfortably had the lead, and the last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour should have been comfortable. It's been anything but credit Sheffield United for that.
Edison under a bit of pressure from McBurney, just blasts it into the Sheffield United half. Many fans feel that their day is done at Bramall Lane and head for the exits as well. They have held on. Sheffield United have more than held on at times. That is the 7 minutes up at Bramall Lane for added time, so down to Jared Gillett now, and it is only a minimum. He can add on what he wants. Is he going to give Sheffield United one last attack? Diaz heads it back towards the halfway line. The full-time whistle goes. Well, in the words of Nicky Weaver, it wasn't vintage, but Manchester City make it 3 wins from 3 to start the season. Erling Haaland putting them ahead on 62 minutes, and then as Sheffield United held on and held out the 1-0 deficit, they started to attack a little bit more. Substitute Jayden Bogle chucking it into the bottom left-hand corner with just 5 minutes to go, and the Bramall Lane thought they had their party, but Rodri wasn't done yet, and he fired the ball into the top left-hand corner of the goal. First time hit, it was a screamer from the edge of the penalty area. Make sure you catch that one tonight. But City are top of the table, 3 wins from 3, perfect start. It's finished here. Sheffield United 1, Manchester City 2.
Well, Nicky, goodness me, that certainly caught fire, didn't it, in the closing minutes. Before that, I think the most interesting thing was the fan who managed to get his way onto the pitch and hug Haaland and celebrate with him. But it certainly caught fire towards the end there. Let's talk about, before anything else, that Rodri strike. Goodness me, there was no stopping that.
Absolutely, yeah. He pulled the trigger with his left foot on the half volley. It was a bit of a bad touch from Foden, actually, that laid him in. And he unleashed a shot that no keeper in the world would have saved. He had a couple of shots earlier on, there was nothing like that, but yeah, we've seen him score some very important goals over the last couple of years, and that's another very important one. And it was a great strike right into the top corner, right in front of the City fans, and they it was a bit subdued from them for most of the game, but they really did come alive after that goal, that is for sure.
A couple of key, turning points in the game, of course, one of which was Haaland scoring. We're used to seeing him celebrate, of course. This time it was more a look of relief, though. Obviously pleased to score, but a real show of relief given that he'd missed a couple of chances. Of course, he didn't convert the penalty. Ultimately, a good finish. Great play from Grealish in the build-up as well, but he did have a look of relief, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Obviously, he missed the penalty, which you should always. Well, he should at least hit the target, the penalty. He had another great chance in midway through the second half where Wes Fothergill made an unbelievable save, and then when he scored the header, great play from Jack Grealish down this left-hand side, stood it up, and it's a good header at the back post. And like I say, it would have been more relief than anything, because on another day, Erling Haaland could have had 3 or 4, but. Not vintage City today as the players are coming off the pitch now clapping the travelling fans. Not vintage City by any stretch of the imagination, but ultimately they've got the 3 points at the top of the league.
Somebody else who'll be relieved, of course, is Kyle Walker. He had a huge role to play in, of course, setting up the opportunity for Rodri. But prior to that, a massive part, unfortunately, in giving Sheffield United their opportunity. What was he thinking?
Well, I'm not really sure. He got the ball in his possession. All right. He could have he didn't want to give a corner away, I get that. He could have just kicked it out for a throw-in. He tried to be a little bit clever, backheel it. I think it was to Bernardo Silva, which, I'm not an expert, but backheeling in your own box is never advisable. And it got cut out, and it fell to Bogle, who ended up scoring. So, yeah, City have sort of got away with one today. And even late on, they had some chances. Diaz gave a sloppy pass away in his own box. What should have been a routine, end to the game wasn't, and City were made to work for the win. Ultimately, they've got the win, which is the most important thing, but there'll be concerning things there for Pep.
Some of the tweets that I shared with you at half-time from fans included people calling for Foden and saying we need something to happen in the middle. In the absence of De Bruyne, we need Foden. You were mentioning he's very enterprising and creative in his play. Is that something that had been lacking, and what difference did he make when he joined the play?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't on for long, but he certainly made an impact. He got the ball in the dangerous areas, in and around the sort of, the Kevin De Bruyne positions, if you like. And he slipped a couple of good passes in, created a couple of things, so he looked really lively. Although he was only on for sort of 15 minutes or so, or 20 minutes, whatever it was. But he did well. I'd like to see him start the next game. Possibly will. Obviously, it sounds like he's been ill overnight, so there might be a reason why he didn't start today. But he certainly looked lively when he come on, and I think he'll end up getting an assist for Rodri's goal, although it was a bit of a missed touch of his inside the box. And like I say, Kyle Walker, he made a mistake at one end, but he made amends at the other end. He squared the ball for Foden, who then had a missed touch, and Rodri lashed it into the net. So yeah, very lucky City today to get away with all 3 points. Absolutely.
Well, Nicky Weaver, of course, former City keeper, has been part of your commentary team today, will be with us until 4:30. It's time to hear from you. 81333 to text, start your message with the word Mank, or you can give us a call on 0800 218 2255.
Total Sport.
Call us now, 0800 218 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
The whole game they were shirt pulling, and the linesman and the ref just completely blanked it.
We're so poor. There is a bit of at the back of my head, I believe in this team, but I don't have that belief. I don't have that trust all the time.
It's just unbelievable. You can't get over it. It's just really buzzing that he's playing for us.
Yeah, we just haven't got going, have we?
Total Sport.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Well, that's 3 wins from 3 for Manchester City.
Walker's won it back on the touchline on the far side. Now he puts a low ball into Foden. Rodri! Oh! Thunderous hit! First time hit! And City are back in front. The ball nearly rips the net off.
It did indeed. That was Rodri with an 88th minute winner as the Blues go top of the Premier League. They were made to work for it though, as Haaland missed a penalty and a Walker error handed Sheffield United an equaliser. Blues fans, were you sloppy at the back today against tougher opposition? That could have been very costly. Should Phil Foden have started today? Whatever your thoughts, we can put them and your comments to Nicky Weaver on 0800 218 2255. Another defeat for Vincent Kompany's Burnley, who were beaten 3-1 at home by Aston Villa. Swinton Lions trail Bradford Bulls 8 points to 22 in Rugby League's Championship. Earlier, Rochdale Hornets were surprised 18-12 by Cornwall in League One. Oldham 6 points down to Midlands Hurricanes at half-time, and the Dutch Grand Prix has been red-flagged due to heavy rain. Max Verstappen leads from Fernando Alonso. The floor is yours. This is Total Sport on BBC Radio Manchester.
Total Sport.
Call 0800 218 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
So this is your opportunity for the next half an hour or so here on Total Sport on BBC Radio Manchester to get in touch. David is with us now. Good afternoon, David.
Hiya.
Thanks very much for joining us. Your thoughts on today then? We it was a little bit slow at times, wasn't it? But in the end, plenty to talk about. Give us your take on it, David.
Well, thank goodness Rodri can't tell the difference between Sheffield and Istanbul, for one thing. I mean, that was a cracking winner, thank goodness. But even when it was 1-0 going into the last 10 minutes, I was fearing shades of Nottingham Forest away last season when we completely dominated and Forest got that late equaliser. And unlike today, City didn't hit back. Not at our fluent best, and it's a cliche, but there are no easy games in the Premier League. And Sheffield United, demonstrated that today. But as they say, a win's a win. And I know it's another cliche. City fight till the end, which we did. I thought we were a little bit profligate in front of goal. There were chances that you would have expected us to put away. I am not going to condemn Erling Haaland for missing a penalty. I mean, goodness me, he does enough. And that goal, Air Haaland, that guy, what a goal. And the thing is, you get the impression with Haaland, if he messes up, if he misses a chance, in his own mind, it just makes him doubly or triply determined to make it right later in the day. And I was delighted. I think, as Nicky Weaver said, it'll probably go down to Phil Foden as the assist. But I was delighted for Kyle Walker to have that, prominent part in the eventual winner after he'd mucked up in our own defence to aid and abet Sheffield United's equaliser.
Absolutely, and that could potentially be a thing of the future, David. Air Haalands, I think they need to get onto that, don't they, and create a bit like the Air Jordans. That certainly could be something. Nicky,
right, I'll copyright it here now.
Yeah, we will record it. Don't worry, we'll make sure that it's patented to you, David. Nicky, some great points made by David there, of course. And a balanced perspective of yes, not the best performance, but they found a way to win, and the players who made mistakes or didn't capitalise on the opportunities made up for it in their own way, which is what you'd expect from the champions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said there, Kyle Walker made a mistake for the goal, but he was bombing on down that right hand side all afternoon, and ultimately he had a big part to play in the winning goal, so pleased for him on that respect. But yeah, what should have been a relatively comfortable afternoon wasn't quite as comfortable as we all thought it was going to be, and it just shows you when you're 1-0 in front, you've got to get that all-important second goal. City didn't, and they were a little bit sloppy at the back. They got punished for it, but ultimately Rodri popped up with a winner, and they got away with it in the end.
We've got a couple of tweets to share on that, the way that players responded in just a moment. But David, a question that I'd like to put to you is whether you think Foden should have started or not.
Well, ordinarily the answer is yes. I mean, he was sublime against Newcastle last week. Everybody's touting who's going to replace Kevin De Bruyne for the next few months. I mean, Phil certainly put his hat into the ring last week, but as I understand it, he didn't travel with the squad yesterday, so he must have been sick. So, those closest to the team know if a player can do the full 90, if he's had a gastric bug or something. So, yeah, the team, the Pep and Juan Lino would have made the right decision. Phil wasn't 100%. You can't start him. Certainly not against a team which is as physical as Sheffield United. So it all worked out okay in the end.
And that's the right call, Nicky, if indeed he's been a little unwell, which appears to be the case, not confirmed, but it does seem that way. And of course, you've got to be mindful of, you want him for the rest of the season, not to burn a player out when they're not so good, of course. So ultimately appears to be the right decision. He got a little bit of playing time and came on and made a difference and had an impact, didn't he?
Absolutely, and you never know what happens during training in the week or what's happened in the last 24 hours. He might have had a bug or a sickness or something, and he might not have had anything to eat. So yeah, listen, they're the experts. They know what goes on every day at training and in the workplace. So yeah, they'll have made the right call. He came on, he looked really lively. I'm a massive Phil Foden fan. I want to see him start every game. When De Bruyne got injured, he was the natural sort of person that everyone's looking to fill that role, because I think he can be more creative on the inside than he can playing out wide, as he showed when he come on today. He looked a real threat in and around the box, although he was only on for sort of 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, we all want to see more of Phil Foden, and I'm sure we will in the coming weeks.
And David, whilst we have you on before you go, we were chatting prior to kick-off about the transfer window, and of course it's been uncharacteristic in many ways for Manchester City to be making sort of decisions late in the transfer window, but the likes of Nunes, of course, at Silva committing, a lot of people saying he's been the best signing, committing an extension on his contract, and Doku on the bench today. Are there any in particular you're most excited about? What have you made of it in terms of the transfer window for City?
I think you're right to say the best signing of the summer is to get Bernardo to, basically commit to us for a certain period of time. Whether it's the full 3 years, I don't know, but we could not have afforded to lose Bernardo this summer. Guardiola is the successor to Laporte. I think City fans were sad to see Laporte go, but Guardiola is 8 years younger and a hell of a prospect. Kovacic is fitted into that side seamlessly. I mean, he's going to be one of the unsung heroes of City in the future, but Kovacic is a perfect fit. I think Doka, he's going to bring a new dimension to the right wing play, much more direct, give us a bigger threat on the counter-offensive. But I would like to see the Nunes deal get over the line. I remember when we beat Sporting Lisbon 5-0 Champions League season before last, and Pep was praising him up to the nines, and I was actually surprised we didn't go in for him last summer. So I'd like to see that, because I think we need quantity as well as quality, because this is going to be a hell of a season, because we've got the FIFA World Club Championship as well as all the other fixtures. And, we haven't got Kevin De Bruyne back in a shirt until probably 2024.
Yeah, and that's a huge early loss, isn't it? David, thanks so much for joining us on Total Sport.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. We've got Jason with us now. Hi, Jason. I know that you've been impressed today by, the ability of City to be resilient and come through that adversity. There's a tweet from David, actually, who says, already the difference between City and Arsenal laid bare. City respond to adversity by regaining the lead quickly. Arsenal respond to a one-man advantage by conceding. Jason, over to you.
Yeah, I think first of all, I like to control the controllables, and I want to focus on City rather than focus on Arsenal, because I think comparison is the thief of joy, as Theodore Roosevelt said. But I think, Nicky, you've been there, you've been a high performer for Manchester City, we'll never forget you, and you'll know it's professional football. I think 80% of high performance is mindset. It's about ability above the shoulders. I think that was epitomised today. There's a lot of adversity in terms of that game could have been 1-1 by the number of chances they missed, and obviously the mistake that obviously Kyle Walker made for their goal. But they never stopped going. They were fully resilient. They were fully intensive, and that never give up attitude, I think, was the difference today that got us over the line. And it also shows, obviously, Guardiola wasn't in the dugout, but how well drilled they are, that the standard of performance they can play when the manager is not there, I think is exceptional. And but mentality and resilience, outstanding.
Absolutely, Jason. You've hit on a couple of key points there, hasn't you, Nicky? That one, great leadership arguably is when everything runs exactly the same, even in your absence, because you've enabled and empowered everybody under your leadership to be able to, get things done, even when you're not there. And Jason, the note on comparison is quite right. However, in sport, comparing yourself to others in a competitive way, often we see the very best brought out in teams and individuals when they've got that competition. And already there's talk of this between City and Arsenal again, Nicky. It's going to be talked about, isn't it, as close as they went at the end of last season. And often you can push each other even further. You need those rivals, don't you, to constantly be making you sort of reach for better.
Absolutely, yeah. And as Arsenal dropped points yesterday, we could have easily dropped points today, and we didn't. Personally, I don't think Arsenal will be as close to us as they were last year. I think they had an unbelievable start last year, which tempted to go on into the new year. But yeah, listen, City have got away with one today. They could have easily lost, but like you rightly said, when they needed to, they stepped up. Rodri scored a terrific goal. I think there was just enough time left when Sheffield United got the equaliser. There was probably, top side of 10 minutes or so left, including injury time. So yeah, they had plenty of time. They've got the quality. Sheffield United have defended well all afternoon, but this couldn't quite keep it going till the end. And like I said, we've got away with one, but all's well that ends well, and we're going home with 3 points.
Yeah, Jason, what did you make of the lineup then? This is something we were talking about in the build-up. It does appear that Foden was unwell, so that seems to be the explanation for that on the back of his great performance last week and then not starting now. Do you have any other sort of thoughts on what you agreed or disagreed with in that regard?
No, I think there was speculation that him and Akanji hadn't travelled to the game, and then there was that Foden had travelled later on. So I think that had broke yesterday. I think in terms of lineup, I think the biggest thing with City is that they don't rely on one player. That the team is the star, not the individual, and different people step up at different times. But I think in terms of, as I said, it was a collective effort today. I think I was really pleased to see Grealish play so well. What was lovely today is that obviously we know he likes to cut inside, but he's going on the outside, and that cross for Haaland I think was beautiful. I think Kovacic has given us another dimension. Gundogan outstanding, but that ability to drive from midfield and that looking for that forward pass, exceptional. And Guardiola, I think Laporte goes with heavy hearts for Manchester City, but the way that Guardiola's fitted in, they can play left back and centre half, is exceptional. And you can see he's so comfortable on the ball. He's good on his 1v1s, so great. And so I think the people they brought in are seamlessly into the team. I would like to see us get one or two more plays in, just for the sheer workload that they're going to play. But collectively as a group of people, outstanding again, and the players they bring in fit superbly well into the system. That they've got great people, but also great players.
And Jason, on that point you've just mentioned about wanting to ensure there's more players coming in, one because of the sheer physical and mental demands of playing at that top level and the sheer volume of games. We mentioned when we had David on earlier about Núñez, of course, Silva extending his contract, Doku, who was on the bench. Who are you most excited about in terms of those that have already committed and those that are rumoured to be committing?
Well, I think the first thing in terms of Bernardo Silva signing is exceptional. I don't think there's many players in the world like Bernardo Silva. First of all, in terms of it, from the rumours, is that first of all, he's a great human being. He builds camaraderie, team spirit within a club. He's a great human being first and a fantastic football second. It gives you versatility. We've seen him playing 4 or 5 different positions for Man City, on the right, on the left, centre midfield, even at left back. It gives that versatility, selfless first, but it's superbly technical play. So to have him signed, great. If we're being really honest, I think there would have been chance for him to go to Barcelona. I think he would have done that, but I think City were adamant that he wasn't. Got bear in mind Gundogan leaving and the financial plight of Barcelona. So I'm great to see him come in. I'm intrigued by Doku coming in. I think it will be patience first with him. We've signed him for 5 years, not for 5 minutes. But if all the things that the feedback that we get is that it might give us a little bit of different dimension. Teams like Sheffield United, who like to play low block, who like to get 10 men behind the ball, who like to play a 5-3-2. Sometimes you need that player that is going to go a 1v1 and beat the full back. And I think we missed a little bit of that directness with Sterling going. So I think he will be, again, be a really good asset, but I think we've got to be patient with him. And Guardiola, again, he gives us that versatility. And Guardiola, we know, loves to have a small squad, but he likes to have multi-dimensional players who can play in a variety of positions. So I think that, what City don't do, unlike a lot of other teams, is that they don't make knee-jerk signings. They don't make emotional signings. They make rational signings where they are intensively looking at their research. And every player that comes in, you feel comfortable that they're going to be a City player. But above all, is that with what they do know is that there's loads of growth and improvement in those players to come. Guardiola makes very good players, world-class players, and I'm excited to see the growth of the team at the same time as I'm excited to see the growth of these individual players. But together, everybody achieves more.
And that's one of the things, Nicky, isn't it, that we've said time and time again, particularly about Guardiola, that choosing players not only that fit what he wants from his team on the pitch, but that are the right fit for that culture and that mindset off the pitch, and also how exceptional he's proven to be again, time and time again. Whether players move on or they stay, whatever happens, they get better under Pep.
Absolutely, and players want to join City because they know they're going to win things, and players get mentioned, and people like Doku, they'll have been looking at him for not only weeks and months but for years. They'll have a really extensive scouting network that'll be worldwide. They'll have information and data on every single player that's performing at a high level all over the world. So, like I said, there's no knee-jerk reactions, no emotional signings. They won't pay over the odds for players. We saw that last year when Cucurella went to Chelsea, and I think bidding got to 60 million, and City just pull out of it. We saw it with Harry Maguire quite a few years ago. I think they dodged a bullet there, but yeah. So they don't do things that that are un-City-like. They're very prudent in the window. They sell well. There might be 1 or 2 players leaving this week, and if someone comes in, they'll have done plenty of homework on them, and I'm sure they'll be a good addition to the squad. Because if you look at the bench today, I'm not saying it's a weak bench, but it's not as in depth as some benches generally are for City. There's only sort of Phil Foden there, who you'd sort of class as a sort of big hitter, if you like. There's a few academy lads on there, which is good. But yeah, they've not perhaps got the strength in depth that they did this time last year.
Yeah, and there's certainly a long way to go at this point as well, isn't there, Nicky? Jason, thank you so much for joining us on Total Sport, and exciting times for you with lots of those names being mentioned for the remainder of the season. So thanks to Jason for joining us. It's 20 4:20. Couple of tweets here from you. One from Sammy, who says, amazing effort by the win. An ugly win is still a win, indeed. And one from Eggy, who says, a flawless start for Manchester City, propelling them to the summit of the Premier League. The season's narrative is taking shape early on. If you want to text us, it's 81333. Start your message with the word Mank. To WhatsApp, 08000 321 333. Also include the word Mank. We're at BBC RM Sport on Twitter, and you can call us on 0800 218 2255. We can chat to Nicky for the next 15 minutes or so, but it's 4:20 now. You're listening to Total Sport on BBC Radio Manchester. Let's get the latest traffic and travel. A tweet here from Seth. We are, of course, talking about Manchester City, who've beaten Sheffield United at Bramall Lane 2-1 in your earlier big match commentary. Former Blues keeper Nicky Weaver is with us. We're going to be talking to Manon in just a second. But this tweet from Seth, he says, this is just terrible from Sheffield United. Of course, this was during the game. I know it's Manchester City, but come on. If you can't string two or more passes together, you shouldn't be playing at this level. Terrible football. Manon, quite harsh on the Blades there. Thank you for joining us on Total Sport. Manon's not there yet. So, Nicky, let's get your thoughts on that. Perhaps a little bit harsh on the Blades, that one, would you say?
Yeah, a little bit harsh. It's obviously a big step up for Sheffield United coming from the Championship, and they are playing against, one of the best teams that Europe's ever seen. Difficult for them to keep possession. They couldn't keep possession for any sort of sustained period of time. They were under pressure most of the game, which pretty much that's how everyone thought the game would go anyway. City were wasteful in front of goal, but Sheffield United did well, and even at 1-0 down with sort of 10 minutes to go, they'd be quite happy with that, because it always gives you a chance. They got the chance, they took it, but unfortunately for them, City got the winner late on. But yeah, I think Sheffield United, it's been obviously a disappointing start for them, 3 losses on the spin, but the fans clapped the players off today. They put a good shift in, and ultimately City were just too good for them in the end.
Thank you, Nicky. We'll be chatting to Louis in just a moment. But first now we can hear from Ruben Diaz, who was chatting to Mike Maine.
A lot of emotion in the end. Obviously, more than anything, happy to get the 3 points. That's what we came here to do. It quickly got complicated when we got the goal. But also, in a season, and as complicated as the seasons get more and more every year, it's important when these moments happen, when a tough moment comes at you and you're able to react. And it was the Rodri one, we had the Julian one just before, and I guess that in those split of minutes, it was so quick, and we had 2-3 chances. I think that reaction of the team is something to take as a very big positive, and the fact that even though it was a tough goal to concede, and especially with the game almost finishing, the teams quickly changed the mindset to let's go after it again.
When you talk about the complications, I was going to ask you about how relieved Kyle Walker was, because obviously it was his mistake that led to the equaliser, although Kyle then redeemed himself because he then helped create the winning goal.
It was on both of the plays. Yes. That it's football. It happens to all of us, and one day is one and the other one it will be the other one. And the most important is that in these moments we stick together, and it doesn't matter what happened. We know what everyone is capable of, and football is this. Football is mistakes, football is good things, and football more than anything, and that's how I will always judge a top player, is when you have a moment not as good, you react in the second after, and that's what he did, just to show how big of a top, how much of a top player he is.
And how pleasing is it for you and the rest of the players that you're the only side in the Premier League to have won your opening 3 matches?
It's important. It's 9 points now, but there's a long way to go, and our head is only on the next one.
Traditionally, you City are slow starters in the Premier League, so as Ian says there, to make it 3 out of 3, do we read anything into that at all?
It doesn't mean anything at all. It means only that we've won 30 games and there are a lot more to win. Big difference is when the goals go in or not. We had so many chances. We had the penalty, even or especially on the second half. We were inside their box, basically all of our players, and but still the ball needs to go in to make the game easier. And obviously they had credit on keeping it away, and we just kept on chasing, and gladly it smiled for us in the end.
Ruben Dias there talking to Ian Dennis and also BBC Radio Manchester's Mike Minay. Louis joins us now. Thanks for joining us on Total Sport, Louis. We heard there, lots of comments in terms of that championship mentality, overcoming adversity, making sure that you make up for mistakes, which, as Diaz pointed out, do happen in football. We've got a tweet here from Colin as well, who says, shout out to Kyle Walker for totally redeeming himself. Are these the things that you look for from a fan's perspective to make sure that, yes, you accept players will make mistakes, but it's what they do after that's the most important to you? Would you agree, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of that. I think what we're seeing in the Premier League is every season, I think it gets tougher. I think the standards gets higher, doesn't it? Even when you see these promoted teams, they're no mugs. You look at Burnley, what they did last season, and they gave us a game. I know that was probably a little bit easier than this one, but I think it says it all when you look at, we're the only team after 3 games with a 100% record. I think it kind of shows how tough this league is becoming. And at the end of the day, 3 games, 3 wins. Just, I suppose, for me, just a couple of things from today. It was great to see Jack Grealish. The one time he went on the outside of the defender was when he got that cross in for Haaland's header, and I just wish he'd do it more. I just find watching him so frustrating at times, but he just needs to be more. I just feel like he needs to attack defenders more, and when he does it, he gets the results. But today was just one of those days. I think looked at the stats, and the stats were, we had 30 shots altogether. They had 6. We had 9 on target. They had 2. But the thing that frustrates me, I don't know what you think about this, but for years, this has always been the case with City. Why is it that a team like Sheffield United can have 2 shots on target and score 1? And why can't we have that conversion rate? Because I tell you what, if we did, we'd have the league backed up by the end of by Christmas.
Nicky, can you give a comprehensive answer to that? Then explain that maths to us.
Well, I think it'd have been about 15-0, wouldn't it, today, if that was the case? But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like they had a couple of chances. They sort of. They were always in the game while ever it was 1-0, and they looked a little bit dangerous on the counter. Ultimately, the goal was a mistake from Kyle Walker, and I'm sure he'll hold his hands up to that. I don't know what he was trying to do, but like Ruben Dias said there in his interview, it was about the reaction after that. They created a couple of chances straight away. They took one, and ultimately they took enough chances to win the game. But on a different day, they might have come here losing 2 points, which you don't want to do coming to places like Sheffield United. It's a tough place to come. The crowd will get right behind them. They're newly promoted, and it's a result that sort of you've just got to grind out and move on to the next game.
I just want to pick up on another point that you made, Louis, as well, and put it to Nicky, which is about Grealish, because a couple of our callers today have mentioned Grealish, and in particular being impressed with the way he went about it, taking on that a defender, and a perfect delivery for Haaland, and that's what they want to see him doing, and he did execute that superbly well today.
He did, and I picked him out as the man of the match for me. I thought he saw a lot of the ball. When he did go down the left-hand side, he dinked a lovely cross in for Haaland's header. It does often go on that right-hand side, and sometimes goes down a little bit of a dead end if they double up on him. So if he needs to mix his game up a little bit more, but I think he's a terrific player. He draws fouls. He drew a couple of fouls in injury time. That wound the clock down, and it took him a year to settle in, and then last year he had a terrific season, and hopefully this year will be even better than last year for him.
Louis, back to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I was going to make a point a minute ago. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that we could talk all day about different players and the performance. I think today was just felt a little bit sloppy. There's so many chances that the players were sort of scuffing wide, and normally they'd probably get it on target at least. But I think there's so many positives. I think it's easy to forget. You've got a couple of new signings in there. I think one of your previous callers, he touched on Gvardiol, and to me, you don't even know he's there. He's that good. You know what I mean? He just slotted in like he's always played.
Yeah.
And he's a kid. He's a kid. He's 21, isn't he? Yeah. And so he's not just for the future. He's one for now as well. He's brilliant. He looks absolutely the real deal. Kovacic, I'm still kind of trying to get my head around what he's does a great job, but I think it's very different from what we used to with Gundogan. But he seems to have slotted in really well as well. So I think in terms of the new signings, seem fairly seamless and probably two of our best players, to be fair. And the Milner...
You go, carry on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you as well, you mentioned before, and I want to get Nicky's thoughts on this from sort of former players' point of view, but for you as a fan who watches them week in, week out, you mentioned that the standard of the Premier League is so much better, therefore it's so much more difficult for teams like City to get a win. 3 wins, they're the only team to do it, as you mentioned, which just goes to show how difficult it is. What do you think it is, from observing from a fan's point of view, that's brought the standard up and that's making it so much more difficult week in, week out to get these results?
Well, I think there's a system that obviously Pep's kind of led the way, sort of showed the blueprint. A lot of teams obviously copy that now, and I think Pep's the sort of the pioneer, the innovator, the sort of the game changer really for the league. But I think what's happening is the teams adapt to it, don't they? And then it's finding a different way of winning all the time, and finding a different pattern of play, trying to find different ways of gaining an advantage. So I think teams are savvy, aren't they? They've got good players, and I think even the poorest teams in the Premier League have got the bigger budgets than some of the top teams in Germany and Spain. So there's some really top players in the Premier League which make top teams, which make the league tougher.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that call, Louis. And Nicky, your thoughts on that? As obviously might have a slightly different perspective having played the game. What are your thoughts on the improvement, the standard, and how it's getting more difficult?
Yeah, the standard's great. I mean, what goes into it, you won't believe what will go into a game of football now at Premier League level. Each team will have, a team of 4 or 5 analysts. They'll be looking at in possession, out of possession, set pieces for and against. Everyone comes up with a game plan. There's so much more than you can ever imagine goes into an actual game of football. So they're difficult to win. So there's no easy games in the Premier League. So a win's a win. Obviously, City would like the performance to be better today, but they've had a perfect start. The only team in the league to do it. This time last year, they were trailing Arsenal. Like we said before, they're not always great starters. So yeah, if we got off to a good start, who knows how many points we could end up on. But yeah, it was a game today that we expected City to win. They did win it in the end, but if they were sloppy as they were today, particularly defensively and in front of goal, there'll be games where they don't win.
Certainly, they seemed to have that other gear when it was required, didn't they? A couple of tweets to finish with, Nicky. One from Sam, who says the team has been so wasteful in converting chances with Kovacic, Grealish and Bernardo not creative enough.
Yeah, I mean, it took when Foden come on, he made a bit of a difference. He created things. Obviously Grealish created the first goal, so you can't say he's not been creative. Kovacic had a couple of decent efforts. So yeah, they just weren't quite clinical enough in that sort of final third, and that killer pass wasn't quite deadly enough. And yeah, they had loads of possession in and around Sheffield United's box. And to be fair to Sheffield United, they defended well. They stuck to a game plan. They got men behind the ball. They made it difficult for City. But ultimately, when it really, really mattered, City just come up with the goods.
Yes, a final one from Pat. Matches like these build character and prepare us for what we'll get in the future from other defensive teams. Ultimately making that point, I guess, Nicky, that other people have said an ugly win's a win, and that's the bottom line, isn't it? At this stage, just getting the win and the points, even if it's not pretty.
Absolutely, football it's not perfect football, and sometimes you've got to do it the hard way and the ugly way, and it might take 90 odd minutes, which it did today. So it's not always going to be 5-0 every week and we're scoring wonder goals. You've got to grind some results out, and ultimately over the season City will have to grind. There'll be 5 or 6 results that they have to really grind out, and they might score last minute winners or get a point here and there. Listen, they're going to win games 4 and 5-0 like they have done for the last few years. That's going to happen, but it's these games that are tight. They could go either way, but all the top teams, which obviously City are, they always seem to end up on the right side of the results.
Do. Nicky Weaver, it's been such a pleasure to have you with us on BBC Radio Manchester. Thanks so much.
Yep, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Nicky Weaver there, of course, part of your commentary team with Mike Minay today. Right, in the Premier League, as you've just been hearing it finished, Sheffield United 1, Manchester City 2. Burnley 1, Aston Villa 3, Newcastle and Liverpool 0-0. That one's just kicked off. In the Rugby League Championship, Swinton Lions 20, Bradford Bulls 36. In League 1, Cornwall 18, Rochdale Hornets 12 and Oldham 8, Midlands 14. You can have a say on all the weekend's action on tomorrow's Total Sport between 6 and 7pm. That'll be with David Scott and Dave Wilson. From 5 today, we have an hour of Rugby League with Jack Dearden and Trevor Hunt, so do join us for that. Now though, it's time for Manchester Pride this weekend, which celebrates everything LGBT about this city. A conversation that needs more volume around LGBT inclusivity in sport, particularly football. Our very own Mike Miney has hosted a panel of players, officials and fans for Football Pride. It's on this week's We're Not Really Here podcast.